Purnalangayat Vidrum Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Mishram Katanchana Smrite Yasmin Duskaram Sakaram Bhave Smrite Pritam Syat Sri Chaitanyam Namavikam. Hare Krishna. So we are continuing with the prayers of Chitraketu. That's what we are talking about. Okay, we finish this. Okay, I think this is where we need to start. Okay, please start.
A devotee following the principles of Bhagavad Dharma feels very much obligated to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He can understand the difference between life without Bhagavad Dharma and life with Bhagavad Dharma, and thus he ever remains obliged to the Lord. Taking to Krishna consciousness and bringing fallen souls to Krishna consciousness is victory for Lord Krishna.
Yeah, so this is very obvious that life without Krishna consciousness and life with Krishna consciousness. Even life without Krishna consciousness, which is a life of piety, where the recommendation is from the Vedas to worship the functional deities or the different devatas, even though it may look like a life of religion. One may say that, oh, this is religious life, because I am doing some worship, I'm offering some worship, I am doing things which are pious, I'm not doing sinful activity, I am doing things which are pious. It may look like dharma, but actually it is not dharma. That's why it is called as Kaitava dharma. That it looks like dharma, but actually it is not dharma. Even though it may deliver some happiness, it may deliver some higher position within this material world, etc. But it is still not dharma because it still locks the soul in the material world. So therefore, Bhagavata Dharma, when it has been propagated by the Lord, then the purpose of creation has been fulfilled. Till the time Bhagavata Dharma was not spoken, or till the time the principles of pure devotional service were not discussed, the human form of life, the purpose of human form of life, it just remained a sophisticated animal life. It can become more and more sophisticated. And it can become, at the best, a sophisticated material life, like Brahma's life. We cannot call it as animal life, or the life in the higher planetary system, Magaraloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka. We cannot definitely call it as animal life. But it's just very sophisticated material life, that's it. So therefore, this idea of being obliged to the Lord is always there with the devotee, that the devotee feels grateful that there is an opportunity to understand something which is not so easy to understand. So therefore, Prabhupada gives various shlokas, very important shlokas. Prabhupada quotes in this purport. First he is quoting Anna Abhilashita Sunyam Jnana Karmadana Vrittama Anukulyena Krishnana Silana Bhakti Uttama, which is the definition of Uttama Bhakti, which comes also with supported by Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam Tatparattvina Nirmalam Krishikena Krishikesha Sevana Bhakti Uchyate. Of course, these shlokas have been very elaborately discussed by all of you in the Bhakti Shastri, in the Nectar of Devotion portion. And then the first canto shloka, where the definition of dharma is there. Savepam Sam Paro Dharmo Eto Bhakti Radoksaje Ahetukiya Pratihata Yatma Suprasidati. Okay, cheating dharma is rejected, but there should be real dharma. What is the definition of real dharma? You can understand that, okay, this is cheating dharma, this is rejected. Then the definition of real dharma is required. So that is given in this shloka. That is the real dharma. 1.2.6 gives what is real dharma. So therefore, here Chitraketu is saying that that when you spoke Bhagavata Dharma, that is a time when your victory was promulgated. That you became victorious by speaking by speaking Bhagavatam. You become very victorious. Yadaga Bhagavatam Dharmam Anavadyam Nishkinchana Ye Munaya Atmaramai Upasate Pavargaya. So there was no process. There was no process by which one could properly understand Apavarga. There was no process. Every process which is both karma and jnana, or even the so-called jnana, it meant to liberate from the Pavarga. But still it remained insufficient. It remained insufficient because there was no clarity. So therefore, Bhagavata Dharma is very important. Anavadya. Faultless. Okay, please read.
If one advocates the Hindu religion, the Muslim religion, the Christian religion, this religion or that religion, there will be conflicts. History shows that the followers of religious systems without a clear conception of God have fought with one another. There are many instances of this in human history, but systems of religion that do not concentrate upon service to the Supreme are temporary and cannot last for long because they are full of envy.
Because they are simply directed by what you believe and what I believe. So, those who have read history, we know that there was crusades. Crusades is simply fighting between Christians and Muslims. So many crusades were there. Crusades, first crusade, second crusade, like that. And then there's a fighting between Hindus and Muslims in India. There is in the Himalayan range, in the Afghanistan side, there is a mountain pass called Hindu Kush. Hindu Kush. There's Hindu Kush, there's Karakoram. Hindu Kush means what? That is the way in which the people walk to kill the Hindus. That's why it was called as Hindu Kush. So, this is going on, that these people are killing that people are killing these people. And then sometimes people get carried away with this, oh, these people are killing, that people are killing. And then sometimes it is said, oh, Christians unite, oh, Hindus unite, oh, Muslims unite. So all these things is going on. But Prabhupada is saying real United Nations or United Union will be formed if everybody becomes Krishna conscious. And Prabhupada is saying, okay, you are Christian, you be true Christian, means develop love of Godhead. You are Muslim, you be true Muslim, develop love of Godhead. And recognize people who are trying to develop love of Godhead as your own. Not that, okay, there is one way and rest of all other ways killing. So therefore, there is a need to come out of this faith-based mentality. Sometimes even in ISKCON we see, modern ISKCON we see, people are becoming more and more faith-based. They are thinking that ISKCON is a Hindu system. From wherever that belief comes, we don't know. But it was definitely not there in Prabhupada books. But there is a lot of Hindu, there's a lot of nationalistic fervor. There's a lot of Hindu fervor. Hindus, we should Hindus. We should Hindus. No, ISKCON is meant for everyone. It's meant for Hindus. It's meant for Muslims. It's meant for Christians. And we don't have any strategy to preach to Muslims and Christians. Muslims and Christians are having strategy to preach to everybody. They are preaching to so many people. They are trying to bring them to Christianity or Islam or whatever it is. But we don't have strategy to preach to Christians and Muslims. We don't have a very defined strategy. Okay, this is how we'll reach out to everyone. We are just trying to reach out to mostly to Hindu audience. Very rarely you find somebody who is a devotee from Christian background or who is a devotee from Muslim background in India. Very rarely you find. Somehow or other we have contended to preach ourselves to people who are having this Hindu faith. Or sometimes people who are confused, they don't know. They may be parents, may be following Hindu faith, and then others, they're confused. They much don't know. something like that. So, therefore, we have to believe in what God believes. Whatever God orders constitutes religion. Dharmam tu shakshat bhagavat pranitam. And God is same for everybody. It's not that Hindu have separate God, Muslims have separate God, Christians have separate God. It's not like that.
Hare Krishna, Bhuji.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, will it be correct to say that the very fact that today so many temples of ISKCON are all over the world, this fact proves that what Prabhupada has given can be presented to anybody and everybody, irrespective to caste, whether they are Christianity or Muslim.
Correct. It is true. But also, there is also another danger which is happening. I'm here. I've not gone to the West. I have not seen myself. I have not traveled so much into West. But I did travel into Europe once. I just went to Europe. And then I saw that many temples are just either just only Hindus are coming who are staying in those respective countries, or they are just neglected. Nobody is there. Like sometimes those deities are installed by Prabhupada itself. We went to Paris temple, Radha Parisishwara. Can you imagine that Radha Parisishwara deity is standing on a cardboard, on a plywood box? Can you imagine? It's a deity which is installed by Prabhupada. And you go into the deity room. In the deity room, there's a plywood box. And on top of the plywood box, the deity is standing. I hardly find anybody there. Few people there. Sunday, some Hindus come.
So, Prabhuji, you mean to say that, what I mean to say, Prabhuji, that what Prabhupada has given is perfect, fine. We can present it to everybody. We find in often in purpose also that the message of Krishna consciousness is meant without irrespective to caste, creed, color, Christian, dharma, faith, etc. So we may not be presenting it, we may not be explaining.
Yeah, that's not my point. Somewhere down the line, we have actually lost the fervor or lost the spirit of preaching to everybody. We have suddenly become comfortable with Hindus. Okay, there are many Hindus are there. Let's just focus on Hindus. Like that, we are suddenly. I mean, there seems to be a unspoken strategy shift. We don't find so many Western devotees who are new devotees who are coming up and then taking initiation. We don't find so many. I'm not saying they're not there at all. I'm saying we don't find so many. At one point, ISKCON was predominantly a Western movement. Like so many Western devotees are there. Now we can directly see that Prabhupada disciples, so many Western devotees are there. That doesn't mean that Indians should not become devotees. Of course, Indians should become devotees, and Indians are in big numbers. So that when they become devotees, really it looks like they are like large number. But then we also see that preaching in the West is now slowly being also coming to just Hindus. I hear that. I mean, I heard only. I have not seen that in America most of the temples again are visited by Hindus only. It's not like that. They're not like so many Westerners coming to temples. And some Hindu festivals are being prominently celebrated. I hear like this. I have not gone there. But sitting in Mayapur, it is very easy to see because the whole world comes to Mayapur. It's very easy to see that not many Westerners who are like new devotees are coming. They're coming, but not many are coming. It is easy to see. Previously, I'm just telling example. Previously, international parikrama used to be international parikrama. Now, there is international parikrama, but about 75% of international parikrama is Indian devotees. They may have American passport. They may have passport from UK. is okay, but still they are mostly like Hindu faith-based devotees. So somewhere down the line, we seem to have lost the game. Where we don't know, but somewhere down the line we seem to have lost it. So therefore, it's good to meditate, especially the many young brahmacharis are there. Many of you are very powerful, big preachers. It's good to meditate on these things. That where did we lose our act, and what can it be done? What can be done to actually bring back attracting everyone to Krishna consciousness? It's something which needs to be thought about. It's not an easy subject. It's definitely a subject, but definitely should be thought about. There should be some strategy, there should be some planning, there should be some focused outreach, both to preach in the West to the Western people, and those who preach to the Western people, sometimes unfortunately they are also so much having their own mental concoction ideas, and then it's all like, anyway, it's not a simple topic, but something to be thought about.
Correct. Just like our Radheshyam Prabhu is doing a lot of efforts in preaching in US, and also Prabhuji, one good thing is that in our this current Bhakti Yoga batch also, next year 2 brahmacharis will be going to America for preaching.
Good, it's nice. It's nice. So it's good meditation for them, that go to America and not only just focus on Indians, but also have a focused target to preach to Westerners, to bring them to Krishna consciousness. It's good meditation. Good to think about it, because nowadays what is happening is becoming more or less automatic. Like you go to a place, okay, there are Indians, you just give class to them, you preach to them, and then you come back. But how to attract the Westerners? Like 2 days back, Prabhupada disciple Sarvadik Prabhu, he was giving class, and today Prabhupada disciple Kripanidhi Prabhu was giving class. You hear them, and the way they speak, the way they present philosophy, amazing conviction they have. Amazing conviction they have. And you hear them, and you think where this conviction came from. It came from the presentation of Krishna consciousness by Prabhupada. So the philosophy has potency to bring everybody to Krishna consciousness. But somewhere down the line, we seem to have lost the act. So it's something to think about, especially for brahmacharis or preachers. It's something definitely to think about. Not only going to Western countries and preaching, but also to preaching to Christians and other faith, Muslims and other faith within India itself, how to preach to everybody, how to bring people to Krishna consciousness. This is something which you need to definitely think about. Not easy.
Yeah, Prabhuji.
Yes.
I've seen Prabhuji sometimes now in India also, when we preach, some Muslim boys also may come in the beginning, and they may start chanting also. But then many times seen that even preachers also, they have this concern that the their community should not become like, agitated or something. So to take them ahead in Krishna consciousness, there is some kind of fear, it appears like that. Whether, there will be some kind of unnecessary agitation in the other, community that way.
Correct,
So,
I understand. That's why I'm saying that it's not like, simple matter. It requires a proper strategy. That yes, communities will be agitated. Yes, there may be some backlash or whatever it is. But how to face that, what to do, all these things we need to think about, because we are also not small people. We are also ISKCON. Also not some simple people. We are not like some simple people. We are ISKCON. We are powerful. We have our influence. We have our contacts. We have our things. So definitely, that's why I'm saying it's not easy, but it takes. It needs to be. It need to be carefully thought about. In Mayapur, it is relatively easier to do certain things, which we keep doing. But there needs to be a good strategy. There needs to be proper strategy. It's not a small thing. Because Krishna consciousness is meant for everybody. If we don't keep that mood and mission that Krishna consciousness is meant for everybody, there is a danger that we may just relegate ourselves to a faith-based position, which is not Krishna consciousness is meant. The original instruction for forming ISKCON came to Prabhupada from Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, saying that you are an educated young man, you can take Lord Chaitanya's philosophy to West, and you can preach Lord Chaitanya's philosophy in the West. So that is the seed instruction which became the formation for ISKCON. That's the seed. So that seed has to be kept in mind. That seed has to, it should not be lost, because that's our identity. It's like losing our identity. So therefore, a lot of thought process should go into this. Young leaders, preachers, they should think about this very seriously, because it's like an identity crisis. Like you are somebody, now you're slowly turning into somebody else. There is a mission given by the Acharya. So what is proper success? Proper success is that he actually stayed true to his Acharya's mission. So Prabhupada became successful. So we also need to meditate on that point, that how to remain true to the vision of the Acharya, because ISKCON is a dream of many Acharyas. It's not like just Prabhupada. It's not just Prabhupada. It's like a vision of the whole parampara. It's not just one man's thing. That one man, he's the empowered man who represented the will of the parampara. That's Prabhupada. But the whole parampara wants it. The Supreme Lord wants it. So the Lord wants it. The Acharyas want it. And Prabhupada actually did that. He demonstrated it. And then he created the perfect agency by which it could be done. So we have inherited that agency, and we have also inherited the responsibility which comes with inheriting that agency. We are enjoying different facilities of ISKCON in different ashrams. According to our different ashrams, we are enjoying the different facilities of ISKCON. So along with enjoying the facilities comes the responsibility of maintaining the sanctity of the mission. So therefore, it's not an easy thing. I'm saying again and again, it's not an easy thing, but it's a serious thing. So therefore, devotees should think about it. Devotees should discuss it. Devotees should see what can be done about it. It's something which needs serious discussion and thought process. Okay. Please continue.
Because everything emanates from the Supreme, nothing can be formed. Everything has some use in the service of the Supreme. For example, we are now dictating into a microphone and recording on a dictating machine. And thus we are finding how the machine can be connected to the Supreme Brahman. Since we are using this machine in the service of the Lord, it is Brahman. This is the meaning of Sarvam Khalo Idam Brahma.
Hmm.
Pure Bhagavatas, pure devotees invite everyone without envy to join the Krishna consciousness movement. A devotee is therefore exactly like the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Suhridam Sarva Bhutana. He is the friend of all living entities. Therefore, this is the best of all religious systems. Whereas so-called religions are meant for a particular type of person who believes in a particular way. Such discrimination has no place in Krishna consciousness or Bhagavata Dharma. If we scrutinize the religious systems meant for worship of demigods or anyone else but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we will find that they are full of envy and therefore impure.
Yeah. So again, Prabhupada is bringing up this point that this is the best of religious systems that is meant for everyone. So that's the mood of the Acharya, to invite everyone without envy to join the Krishna conscious movement. So therefore, these are things which we need to think about. We need to meditate upon, and according to our different empowerment, we need to act upon also. Okay.
One may argue that the sacrifice of animals is recommended in the Vedas. This recommendation, however, is a restriction. Without Vedic restrictions on the purchase of meat, people will purchase meat from the market, which will be overflooded with meat shops, and slaughterhouses will increase. To restrict this, sometimes the Vedas say that one may eat meat after sacrificing an insignificant animal like a goat before the goddess Kali. Sometimes animal sacrifices are performed very gorgeously with grand arrangements for worshipping the goddess Kali. But such festivals, although performed in the name of yajna, are not actually yajna. For yajna means to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Mhm. So Prabhupada quotes from Bhagavad Gita, different shlokas of how uh, they are actually doing various things. Okay. Continue.
A person who commits murder is envious. A person who commits murder is envious of himself and also the person he has killed. For the result of committing murder is that he will be arrested and hanged. If one transgresses the laws of a man-made government, he may escape being killed by the state. But one cannot escape the laws of God. A killer of any animal must be killed in his next life by the same animal. This is the law of nature. If one follows any other system of religion, he is subject to punishment by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in many different ways. Following a system of religion that does not awaken one's Krishna consciousness or God consciousness is merely a waste of time and labor.
Mm. So here in the shloka, Chitraketu talks about self-envy. By causing pain to one's own self due to self-envy, and by causing pain to others, one arouses your anger and practices religion. So it is said that swadroha means that being envious of one's own self. So what is this self-envy which Chitraketu is talking about? What is this self-envy? What is this self-envy?
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Roji.
Well, one answer came that stopping one's progress towards Krishna, that is self-envy.
Okay, it's a very nice answer. Any other meditations on self-envy? What is self-envy? Anyone likes to add to this point? It's a very nice point.
Really, maybe it's guess only that because we are qualitatively one and we all are part and parcel of Krishna. So
Yeah.
my envy towards anyone is because I'm qualitatively one. So my envy towards anyone, or be it Krishna or any other part and parcel of Krishna, is self-envy.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe
Anybody
it's
else?
like it is having a Bheda Buddhi, separatist mentality.
Okay. Okay.
Because everybody is connected to us. So if you're thinking somebody else as different or ourselves different from others, that means we are envying our own selves.
Okay. Anybody else?
Prabhuji, this Prabhupada says in this seventh canto also that why everybody has love for himself. So he's telling that because we have actually our original love for Krishna. That's why we love ourselves also. So now in the same thing, in the same line, when we envy Krishna, then we are actually becoming envious of ourselves also.
Okay, good. Any other thought process on self-envy? Nice answers are coming, by the way. Nice answers are coming. Any other thought process on self-envy? Anyone like to add anything?
Guruji, in the similar line, you can say the self-envy basically is just trying to grow in a material sense, not taking care of the spiritual life, no, not trying to progress in Krishna consciousness. That means we are envying ourselves. We are not growing in towards the actual goal of our life.
Yes, very nice, very good, very nice. Very nice. We got some very good and very nice analysis of what constitutes self-envy. I'll also add some little points to whatever has been discussed. Almost everything has been covered. I'll just add one or two points.
One more thing, can I say?
Yes, please. Yeah, go on.
Prabhuji, when one is envious, so tries to pull others down. So same way, when we are envious, self-envy means what? When we are ourselves pulling ourselves down, when we are actually supposed to be progressing in Krishna consciousness. So we only become cause of our own going down in Krishna consciousness.
Yes. This is the point I wanted to add.
We are deliberately doing that. So that becomes like we are only envying.
Correct, yes. This is the point. This is exactly the point I wanted to add. Thank you very much. So the soul is Sachidananda Vigraha. Okay. And what is the position of the soul? The position of the soul is that he is in company of Krishna. Being in company of Krishna means what? Being in company of Krishna means living in a place which is made of Chintamani stones, dealing with trees which are Kalpavriksha trees, and drinking milk which is coming from Surabhi cow. This is what constitutes being with Krishna. And enjoying unlimited variety of happiness, which is never ending and which is ever increasing. This constitutes being with Krishna. Okay. Now, you consider what we are trying to do to ourselves by accepting a material body. And by accepting the material body as our ultimate reality, what we are trying to do to ourselves, we are actually delivering ourselves misery after misery for unlimited lifetimes. We are simply delivering ourselves misery after misery. And we are in a very cheap position. Very cheap position. What house we are living with? One may say, oh, I am very rich. I am living in a house which is made of gold. Sometimes you go to very rich people, you go to their toilet, you find their toilet is made of gold. I have seen things like this because I was in Middle East and they used to work with some really rich royal family people. They make their toilet out of gold. some gold-plated accessories and things like that. And say, oh, I'm very rich. I'm having a toilet which is made of gold. But still, it is only gold. It is not Chintamani store. And still, you have to go and pass stool. Just because you have a gold toilet doesn't mean that you will not pass stool. And still, the stool will stink. It's not that, oh, he's passing stool in golden toilet, so let the stool not stink. It's not going to be like that. Still, it is abominable. Still, it will stink. Still, you have to clean yourself after passing the stool. You cannot say, oh, I have passed stool in golden toilet, so I will just go around like this without cleaning myself. You'll become sick if you don't clean yourself after passing stool. So what we have done to ourselves, if we meditate upon this point, that what is our position and what we have done to ourselves, then it will be very clear that if we become envious of Krishna, it includes being envious of ourselves. Very, very clear. This point will be very clear. That what is the quality of life we should be living and what is the quality of life we are living. And where we should be, what we should be doing, and where we are and what we are doing. So this is the bodily conception. The Prabhupada says material world is like a toilet. We can never make it pleasing or fragrant. Yeah. So we were in a very pleasing and fragrant atmosphere, which is the spiritual world. And now we have relegated ourselves to this material world, which is stinking. Like the other day when Padisham Prabhu was in Mayapur, we invited him and he gave a lecture in our residential complex. And there he was mentioning that if you don't wash this body for 2 days, then every part of this body will start stinking. And this is the body we are having, and we are so proud of this body. Oh, this body is very nice. Every day we see this body in the mirror and then we admire ourselves. Oh, very good, very nice. It looks so nice. This body looks so nice. So this constitutes self-envy. The bodily conception constitutes self-envy. The acceptance of bodily conception by the spirit soul, it constitutes self-envy. Rishabhadev said that. He said that Nunam pramatta kurite vikarma et indriya prite apranoti na sadhu manye yata atmano ayam. He said, oh, this is not very good. This business of accepting this body is not very good business. It's not very good. Why? Because I am a spirit soul. Yata atmano ayam. So I should not be mad after simply enjoying this body, because by nature, I am meant for superior enjoyment. I should not be doing this. So therefore, since I am doing this, that's why Narottama Das Thakur is singing Janiya Suniya Vishakhaino. Knowingly I have drunk poison. The same thing Kudashekhar Alvar also says. Ashcharyamihi etat manushya loke sudam parityajya visham pibanti namani narayana gocharani tektva kuhakaha anyadu vachaha patanti. That see these mad people, they have given up nectar and they are drinking poison. So instead of speaking Krishna Katha, instead of speaking about Krishna's name, Krishna's form, Krishna's pastime, chanting Krishna's name, they're simply talking so many affairs. So therefore, the self-envy is very prominent in bodily conception of life. And we should try to come out of this self-envy. As sadhakas, we should be very aware of this, that this is self-envy and we should try to come out of this. Okay, read next.
A person who commits murder is envious of himself.
We already read that.
Okay, we read it, yeah. Bhagavad Dharma and Krishna Katha are identical. Bhagavad Dharma means living according to the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, Bhagavad Dharma means the Varnashrama Dharma of the 4 social and 4 spiritual divisions. The members of human society who strictly follow the principles of Bhagavad Dharma and live according to the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are called Aryans or Arya. At the present moment, throughout the world, killing is prominent. Men are killing trees, they are killing animals, and they are killing other human beings also, all for sense gratification. This is not an Aryan civilization. The word aprathak dhiyah indicates that Aryans do not distinguish between lower and higher grades of life. All life should be protected. All living beings have a right to live, even the trees and plants. This is the basic principle of an Aryan civilization. Aryans do not deviate from the instructions of Krishna, nor do they have doubts about Krishna. But non-Aryans and other demonic people fail to follow the instructions of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Kah kshemo nij parayoho kiyan vartha swaparad druha dharmena. What is the meaning of a civilization that kills oneself and others? One should conduct his social, political, and religious affairs according to his instructions. We are spreading the Krishna consciousness movement to try to establish a society the way that Krishna wants it. This is the meaning of Krishna consciousness. We are therefore presenting Bhagavad Gita as it is and kicking out all kinds of mental concoction. The Krishna consciousness movement, however, strictly follows Bhagavad Dharma, the instructions of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam for the complete welfare of human society. One who misinterprets Bhagavad Gita, twisting out some meaning for his sense gratification, is a non-Aryan. Therefore, commentaries on Bhagavad Gita by such persons should be immediately rejected.
Yeah, so Prabhupada makes a very nice instruction that what is to be Krishna conscious. Like sometimes we have seen that devotees also appreciate, oh, these are all environmentalists, they are all very nice. These people are all conservationists, they are all very nice. These people are this, they are very nice. These people are that, they are very nice. But actually, being Krishna conscious means naturally being conservationist, being environmentalist, being any ist which can be imagined. Because Prabhupada very clearly says that being Krishna conscious means respecting everybody's right to live and protecting all lives. This is called being Krishna conscious. So therefore, a Krishna conscious person is always very careful about not transgressing the right to live of others. Like we can see that when Jadabharata was carrying the palanquin of Raghugana, he was very careful not to step on the ants. And he was stepping this side and that side, trying to avoid the ants. So therefore, Raghugana was very much inconvenienced, and then the whole pastime happened. But the point is that Raghugana actually, Jadabharata actually was very careful not to step on the ants. What to speak of other things. So, but at the same time, the so-called mundane environmentalist or the mundane conservationist, what is his interest? His interest is to simply extend the sense gratification based on bodily conception of life. Even though he may be speaking noble things, he may say, oh, save Mother Earth. And it looks very nice, oh, we should save Mother Earth. But have anybody considered that do we have capacity to save Mother Earth? We don't have the capacity to save Mother Earth because we are saved by Mother Earth. She is called Dhatri. We are actually saved by Mother Earth. Our duty is to serve and please her. Our duty is not to save her. We are not there to save Mother Earth. We are there to serve and please Mother Earth. So that should be the mood when the pujaris do deity worship. They actually do asana stapana, and then they chant mantra. Prithvitvam Data Loka Devitvam Vishnadrita Tvam Chadharaya Mam Nityam Pavitram Chasanam Kuru. So this is Mother Earth. She is holding the whole creation. And Vishnu is holding her in her lap. So we are being held by her. So therefore, we should be conscious of how we are dealing with her. What is pleasing to her? So that consciousness is built into Krishna consciousness. But that consciousness is not there in the so-called mundane conservationist or environmentalist or this kind of people like, green peace, yellow peace, like the different type of movements are there. But these people are not having this kind of conception. They are simply thinking that, okay, it's a resource and I should enjoy, and then my coming generations also should enjoy. So their so-called conservation is simply coming from enjoyment mentality. It's not coming from the mentality to serve and please the Supreme Lord and his consort. So therefore, sometimes it's a misunderstanding that a devotee of Krishna is not conscious of these things. Is number one. Number two, it is also a misunderstanding to think that I am Krishna conscious, so I need not worry about environment. I need not worry about conservation. I need not worry about biodiversity. I am Krishna conscious. So this is neophyte understanding of Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada says in Bhagavad Gita in the 7th chapter, the jurisdiction of Krishna consciousness is everywhere. So therefore, it's important for us to recognize the right of living and the right of protection for every living entity. Every living entity. That's important for us. So, and then we should act accordingly. And if someone is ignorant, we should try to teach them, or we should try to tell them that what is right and what is wrong. That's part of our duty. Sometimes it happens like this, that people are ignorant and they are unnecessarily envious of living entities. Hey, Haribol. So, my son went to my hometown, and then in the evening time, he went to wash his hand. Then when he went to wash his hand, because the hand wash area is just, it's a service corridor outside the house, is not part of the house. So he stepped outside and then he tried to wash his hands. And then he saw a snake at home. He is a Gurukul boy. So they know how to recognize snakes. They know what is poisonous, what is not poisonous, because they live with snakes. So he saw as a snake, and then he found it, so it's not a poisonous snake. He just left it. And then he came and he told my father-in-law, there's a snake there. So my father-in-law got so upset. He said, hey, what is this? So casually you're telling there's a snake here. How can snake be in the house? He went. And then my son told him, see, it's a snake, but it's not a poisonous snake. Just leave it. It will just go, because the neighboring house, they have actually broken the whole house. And then it's like so much of unwanted vegetation is there. So therefore, sometimes some snake, sometimes some leech, these things come because they are living there. But nobody is living there, so they have made their house there. So then he got so upset, and he said, oh, you have to kill. My son tried to tell him, don't kill it. It's just a non-poisonous snake. It's just a garden snake. You just take it out and put it in the garden. That's it. It's gone. It will live its life. I was like, no, we should kill this snake. We should kill. And finally, they ended up killing the snake. So this is envious mentality. This is envious mentality. That Shastra says that even sadhus are happy when a poisonous snake or when scorpion is killed. So therefore, if a snake is poisonous or if there's a scorpion, we definitely kill it. Shastra allows it. And Shastra says sadhus become happy when they are killed. Definitely we should kill it. But when something is non-poisonous, why to kill it? And in Mayapur, there are so many non-poisonous snakes. And they're all big snakes. Sometimes non-poisonous snakes are so big. You see them, they are just very stout and so long and so big. And sometimes they cross this side, cross that side. And then they go, they live their life. Because they are in the field. And we are destroying the field and making building. So we are taking their habitat. They are not taking our habitat. So we should be careful about these things, that how to respect other living entities is an important part of Krishna consciousness. To not to disturb the balance of nature unnecessarily, or not to behave irresponsibly in polluting Mother Earth. These are all part of Krishna consciousness. They should not be seen as something which is away from Krishna consciousness. We are dealing with Krishna's wife. So we should be very careful. If you want to please a person, you should please his wife. Those who are in VIP cultivation, they know this very well. That is a big man. How to please him? Just please his wife. So make sure that madam is happy. And if madam is happy, the big man is happy. So whenever they come to the temple, then you find that those are intelligent cultivators. They give more attention to madam than the man. And the guy is also relaxing. He's thinking, okay, and go on. My wife is happy. At least she will not trouble me. And he's also very happy. So he is also happy. He's saying, okay, give more attention to her. Make sure that what she wants, everything she gets. And then she's happy. Then you go to his office, then the man is beaming with smile, big smile. Yeah, very good, very good. You took care of my wife very well, very nice. There is a simple logic. If you want to please Krishna, please his wife. So, anyway, okay, let's continue.
This chanting of the holy name 5,000 years ago, and now through the Krishna consciousness movement, the Hare Krishna movement, we are actually seeing that men who are considered to belong to the lowest class are being delivered from all sinful activities simply by hearing the holy name of the Lord. Samsara, material existence, is a result of sinful actions. Everyone in this material world is condemned. Yet, as there are different grades of prisoners, there are different grades of men. All of them in all statuses of life are suffering. To stop the suffering of material existence, one must take to the Hare Krishna movement of Sankirtan or Krishna conscious life.
Okay, there is a question in the chat. Snake body is for envious soul, non-envious snake body is for whom? Envious feelings turn into poison. Maybe people who behave in such a way that their behavior causes so much unnecessary fear to others. It's just a speculation. It's not like I have read in Shastra like this. I'm just saying because naturally people are afraid of snake. So some people may be behaving in such a way that their behavior causes so much fear to others. So then they need to get a body which naturally causes fear in others. Maybe something like this. Okay, please continue.
By offering food to the deity and by decorating and serving the deity, one gets the same result that one derives from serving the Lord personally in Vaikuntha.
So by chanting the holy name and by doing deity worship, by these two very powerful processes, we can actually experience the spiritual world. That's what Prabhupada is saying. Okay, please continue.
Then one will be able to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead even with one's own eyes. One only needs training.
Yeah. So Prabhupada here, Chitraket is talking about Narada Muni's training. And Prabhupada is giving us the blessing that he is giving us training. And if we take to the training sincerely, then Prabhupada is giving us blessing that we will be able to see the Lord with our own eyes. Just like Chitraketu was able to see the Lord in 15 days, and Narad Muni gave him blessing. He said, okay, I give this mantra, you please chant, and you'll be able to see the Lord in 15 days. So Narad Muni gave him blessing. He gave him his good wishes. So Prabhupada is also offering blessings to us that we can also see the Lord face to face. One only needs training. So there's a blessing and there's an instruction. The instruction is to take the training of Krishna consciousness very seriously. And the blessing is that we will be able to see the Lord face to face. Okay, please read.
Materialistic so-called chemists and atheistic philosophers always try to avoid even the name of God in relation to the cosmic manifestation. For them, God's creation is impossible to understand because they are too materialistic. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Paramhamsa, or the Supreme Pure, whereas those who are sinful, being very much attached to material sense enjoyment and therefore engaging in material activities like asses, are the lowest of men. All their so-called scientific knowledge is null and void because of their atheistic temperament. Thus, they cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So the Lord is not replying. Huh?
The perfection of life.
Once again, we have not read the translations for now.
Okay.
We should read the translations. Please read translations from now all the way up to the end.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Anantadev, replied as follows: O King, as a result of your having accepted the instructions spoken about me by the great sages Narad and Angira, you have become completely aware of transcendental knowledge. Because you are now educated in the spiritual science, you have seen me face to face. Therefore, you are now completely perfect. All living entities, moving and non-moving, are my expansions and are separate from me. I am the super soul of all living beings who exist because I manifest them. I am the form of the transcendental vibrations like Omkar and Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, and I am the supreme absolute truth. These two forms of mine, namely the transcendental sound and the eternally blissful spiritual form of the deity, are my eternal forms. They are not material. In this world of matter, which the conditioned soul accepts as consisting of enjoyable resources, the conditioned soul expands, thinking that he is the enjoyer of the material world. Similarly, the material world expands in the living entity as a source of enjoyment. In this way, they both expand, but because they are my energies, they are both pervaded by me. As the Supreme Lord, I am the cause of these effects, and one should know that both of them rest in me. When a person is in deep sleep, he dreams and sees in himself many other objects, such as great mountains and rivers, or perhaps even the entire universe, although they are far away. Sometimes, when one awakens from a dream, he sees that he is in a human form, lying in his bed in one place. Then he sees himself in terms of various conditions, as belonging to a particular nationality, family, and so on. All the conditions of deep sleep, dreaming, and wakefulness are but energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should always remember the original creator of these conditions, the Supreme Lord, who is unaffected by them. Know me to be the Supreme Brahman, the all-pervading Super Soul, through whom the sleeping living entity can understand his dreaming condition and his happiness beyond the activities of the material senses. That is to say, I am the cause of the activities of the sleeping living being. If one's dreams during sleep are merely subject matters witnessed by the super soul, how can the living entity who is different from the super soul remember the activities of dreams? The experience of one person cannot be understood by another. Therefore, the knower of the facts, the living entity, who inquires into the incidents manifested in dreams and wakefulness, is different from the circumstantial activities. That knowing factor is Brahman. In other words, the quality of knowing belongs to the living entities and to the Supreme Soul. Thus, the living entity can also experience the activities of dreams and wakefulness. In both stages, the knower is unchanged, but is qualitatively one with the Supreme Brahman.
This is a nice explanation which is given to actually prove that the Jiva is not supreme. So, Prabhupada, it's a normal four-line shloka, and Prabhupada expands it nicely in the translation itself. It's a very good explanation which is given by the Lord himself, that why we are not the Supreme Lord. Okay, please continue.
When a living entity, thinking himself different from me, forgets his spiritual identity of qualitative oneness with me, in eternity, knowledge, and bliss, his material conditional life begins. In other words, instead of identifying his interest with mine, he becomes interested in his bodily expansions like his wife, children, and material possessions. In this way, by the influence of his actions, one body comes from another, and after one's death, another death takes place. A human being can attain perfection in life by self-realization through the Vedic literature and its practical application. This is possible especially for a human being born in India, the land of piety. A man who obtains birth in such a convenient position but does not understand his self is unable to achieve the highest perfection, even if he is exalted to life in the higher planetary systems. Remembering the great trouble found in the field of activities performed for fruitive results, and remembering how one receives the reverse of the results one desires, whether from material actions or from the fruitive activities recommended in the Vedic literatures, an intelligent man should cease from the desire for fruitive actions, for by such endeavors one cannot achieve the ultimate goal of life. On the other hand, if one acts without desires for fruitive results, in other words, if one engages in devotional activities, he can achieve the highest goal of life with freedom from miserable conditions. Considering this, one should cease from material desires. As husband and wife, a man and woman plan together to attain happiness and decrease unhappiness, working jointly in many ways. But because their activities are full of desires, these activities are never a source of happiness and they never diminish distress. On the contrary, they are a cause of great unhappiness. One should understand that the activities of persons who are proud of their material experience bring only results contradictory to those such persons conceive while awake, sleeping, and deeply sleeping. One should further understand that the spirit soul, although very difficult for the materialist to perceive, is above all these conditions. And by the strength of one's discrimination, one should give up the desire for fruitive results in the present life and in the next. Thus, becoming experienced in transcendental knowledge, one should become my devotee. Persons who try to reach the ultimate goal of life must expertly observe the Supreme Absolute Person and the living entity who are one in quality in their relationship as part and whole. This is the ultimate understanding of life. There is no better truth than this. O King, if you accept this conclusion of mine, being unattached to material enjoyment, adhering to me with great faith, and thus becoming proficient and fully aware of knowledge and its practical application in life, you will achieve the highest perfection by attaining me.
So, all this instruction he gave, the Lord is giving, was practically applied by Vritrasura. So, he got all these instructions as Chitraketu, and then he applied these instructions as Vritrasura. Okay, please speak. Please speak.
Sri Sukdev Goswami continued, after thus instructing Chitraketu and assuring him of perfection in this way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Spiritual Master, the Supreme Soul, Sankarshana, disappeared from that place as Chitraketu looked on. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 6th canto, 16th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled King Chitraketu Meets the Supreme Lord.
Okay, let's go to the reports. Read them. Okay, please read.
The perfection of life is to be spiritually educated and to understand the existence of the Lord and how he creates, maintains, and annihilates the cosmic manifestation. When one is perfect in knowledge, he can develop his love of Godhead through the association of such perfect persons as Narad and Angira and the members of their disciplic succession.
So this is what education should do to us. So therefore, it is our duty to actually promote this type of education. Education from where the child would actually learn from an young age that the purpose of life is to please the Supreme Lord. And then take up different occupations with this understanding very clearly. One may become doctor, one may become engineer, one may become scientist, or one may become whatever. But they should take up different occupations by understanding this very clearly. And their occupational duties should become a means for getting love of Godhead. So we should actually promote that type of education. Then we will be doing a great favor to the society. Sometimes even children of devotees are struggling because they just go to these slaughterhouse schools and then they study in these slaughterhouse schools, and then their consciousness gets so much disturbed. They become so disturbed because one side they are learning Krishna consciousness, and the other side they are in the slaughterhouse schools, which is teaching them everything opposite. And their envy and passion is taught as the goal of life. And here pleasing Krishna is taught as the goal of life. Now the child gets confused, hey, this is correct or that is correct. And the same parent is telling the child to go here and go there also. And the same parent is pushing the child to perform here and perform there also. Now the child gets confused. Right? My parents are pushing me to become Krishna conscious. They are pushing me to go to Sunday school. They're pushing me to be devotee. And they're also pushing me to get into all this. And then, all this rat race and envy and that and this. And they're also pushing me here. So what is correct? Whether this is correct or that is correct. So how to unify both the instructions and how to make some institution which will unify both the instructions is very important. Here and there, different attempts are being made. Even I saw in Pune that there is a school running in the temple. So these are good things. These are good attempts. Like we should promote such educational institutions more and more, where Krishna consciousness is taught as the primary goal, and maintaining the body is taught as a secondary goal to support the primary goal. Okay, please read.
By performing devotional service, one advances step by step, and when one is on the platform of love of Godhead, Prema Pumartho Mahan, he sees the Supreme Lord at every moment. The essence of knowledge is that there are two kinds of vastu or substances. One is real and the other, being illusory or temporary, is sometimes called non-factual. The categories of emanations from the non-substance are two: activities and forbidden activities, karma and vikarma.
Yeah, so of course, we have discussed this elaborately in the second canto, in the second shloka of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Dharma projito kaitavatra paramo nirmatsaranam satam vastavam atra vastu shivadam tapatrayam mulanam. So there the description of the vastu is there, that vastavam vastu. What is the vastavam vastu? The vastavam vastu is consisting of the knowledge of the Supreme, the knowledge of matter, and the knowledge of the jiva, and their interconnection between them, how they are interconnected. So they're all interconnected. They're all in relationship with each other. There is Supreme Lord Krishna, there is material energy, and there is the jiva. So all the three are interconnected, and there's an interconnection between them. So understanding that interconnection between them very clearly constitutes the knowledge of the Vastu. That's what Prabhupada says here also. There is there are the two. One is real and the other one is illusory. So the material energy causes the illusory substances, and the real substances or the real Vastu is the Supreme Lord and the Jiva. Now, the Jiva is overcome by the material energy, and the Supreme Lord is controlling that material energy. And this way, he is also controlling the Jiva. So, to understand this whole situation, and then to realize that my actual position is simply to come out of the control of this material energy and get into control of Krishna or his spiritual energy, Aladini Shakti. This is my actual position. To understand that is actually the knowledge which removes the threefold misery.
Guruji, here emanations from the non-substance means?
Yeah, there are different categories. Like in the same shloka, if you actually go to the first shloka of Srimad Bhagavatam, there Prabhupada talks about the substance and the categories. If you remember that Prabhupada says the substance should be known by studying of the categories. So there are categories of the substance, and there is also categories of the non-substance, which is the illusory energy. So there are categories of both. So the categories of the substance is his own form and his expansions into Vishnu Tattva and his expansions into Jiva Tattva and his different type of energies which are acting. So these are all categories of the substance. And then one of the energy is the external energy, and that also has categories. And those categories are activities which causes material enjoyment and activities which causes material suffering. So these are the categories. So one should actually understand all these categories. By understanding all these by studying the nature of all these categories, then one would actually reach the substance. So that's Sankhya. Sankhya is the study of all the categories. You very elaborately study all these categories. So now, when you say that there are two categories, there are two the categories of emanations from the non-substance, karma and vikarma, then how these karma and vikarma are enacted? So to enact this karma and vikarma, then there is a combination of the 24 elements is there. So then these 24 elements, each of them are designed in such a way that these two things can be enacted. So what is the design and how they are, and what are their characteristics, and what are their activities, and what is their nature? This is Sankhya. So if you actually remember the third canto study, you have actually studied these things very elaborately in Sankhya philosophy. So by actually studying these categories and by understanding the nature of these categories, one would become disillusioned, and one would actually approach the actual substance, which is Krishna.
Roji, one question was there.
Yeah. Yes.
Roji, this the previous purport point was coming about education system. So
Yeah.
one thing, Roji, this especially for the ISKCON devotees, the children of congregation. So means what I was asking, Roji, like some thoughts that if just like the college pitching happens, like Radha Shambhu has created certain syllabus for the devotees who are in the college from first year onwards, spiritual syllabus basically.
Yeah.
What happens, it becomes very organic growth in terms of what they need at that age, and they're also trained in preaching and many aspects. Of course, that time they're quite matured, so they can take it up also that way.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying, Guruji, like as in overall ISKCON, the children of devotees. So if at right age, some kind of syllabus which could be universally there, which just like we have, Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, that is for, grown-up devotees mainly. But for the children at different age, if there is some universal syllabus which is very thoughtfully made, is understanding the need of the children and psychology of the children at different age. Some kind of that work, if something is done, because generally children are left to the parents' choice and the available facilities. Accordingly, they may give some training. Sometimes it may be homeschooling. Sometimes they may have to send to some modern school only. So then it is completely left to the parents only. And sometimes the boy is grown up, but still he may not be having very clear convictions or understanding of the philosophy also. So because there was no kind of syllabus or encouragement in that regard, because something is there, then it becomes more easy for people to enroll for and get the necessary education and training.
Correct.
So I feel this area, I mean, do you feel very, if we can throw some light on that, because
Yeah,
you are also
definitely, definitely it is required. And I also know many people are working on this. It's not like people are not working on this. Different people are working on different levels. Like, there are many people who are working on value education and syllabus on value education, which is not directly Krishna consciousness, but it can reach larger audience with value education, which is mainly aimed at schools. And there are also devotees who are working on making syllabus for children, proper Krishna conscious syllabus for children. And Aruda Mataji made some material from Bhagavatam. So in different pockets, and I know that is that get the name, proper disciple, one Mataji is there. Short-term memory loss.
Sukawa Mataji.
No. Urmili Mataji, yes, Urmila Mataji. Urmila Mataji has made a lot of work on this. She has done a lot of work on this. And then there's also different attempts made by different people so who are actually doing this kind of work. I know Mayapur Gurukula is trying to develop some syllabus. And I also know that in South India, there is some attempt being made to actually establish a school which is based on based on a Krishna conscious curriculum, and then we are working on some syllabus on that. So different groups are working. Of course, it will be nice if we can consolidate all the efforts, and then if we can bring it together so that there's no duplication of effort. But also, in one sense, different levels of approach is also required. That is also important. The different levels of approach is also required. So in one sense, the diverse type of syllabuses which are available is also good, because it caters to different needs of different parents and students. But it would be nice to have a consolidated approach. Ministry of Education should take some lead on this. The GBC, Tapan Mishra Prabhu, he is now more in Mayapur. I definitely talk to him about this. It's also my area of interest to have some curriculum for children. It's a long thought process. And anyway, it's an important point, a very, very important point, that there should be some proper, nice curriculum, and there should be different sets of curriculum, different grades of curriculum. And now Indian education system is also becoming more open towards these things. Like, we have NIOS, which actually gives us freedom to teach literally what we want till the 8th grade. And after 8th grade, we have to, because they have to pass 9, 10, and then they have to get into something. So we have to align more with the academic part. But and also there's Cambridge syllabus or O-level syllabus, which actually also gives a lot of freedom to teach what we want. We can see we use that in international school in Mayapur. But definitely a very consolidated effort and very good people thinking about education is required. See, what happened in the formative years of ISKCON is that the best of minds would go for book distribution. Like the cream of the cream would go for book distribution, because that was the focus. The cream of the cream would actually go into book distribution. And then the next would get into temple management and preaching and other things, and so many different activities. And then if you can't do anything, send to education. It was more or less like that. That system was more or less like that. Okay. okay, this person can't do management, can't do book distribution, can't do preaching, can't do this, can't do that. Okay, put that person into school, go to Gurukula and become a Gurukula teacher, something like that, like that. So that policy also spiritually and socially, ISKCON has paid a huge price for that policy. ISKCON has paid a huge price for that policy of neglecting the children education. But now we are actually in a phase where the movement is spreading very nicely. A lot of preaching is going on. And then there's a huge amount of resource pool which is available in terms of full-time devotees, in terms of congregation. There's a huge amount of resource pool is available. And many best of minds are coming into the movement. So therefore, it is very much required to actually bring the best of the minds in the field of education, put all of them together, and then see if we can develop something which will be useful for everyone. And then also recognize the different efforts which are going on in different places. I know at least about, in India, I know about 5-6 efforts are going on to develop curriculum. I know this. And there are about 5 or 6 efforts going on in different pockets to develop curriculum. There's one online school which is trying to do that. I think in Pune also some effort is happening to develop something. So there are different, like when Raja Prabhu came, he spoke about it. He spoke to the school in charge here, and he was telling that I would like to see what you guys are teaching to the children. We would like to see if we can take something from you and you can take something from us. He already spoke about some sort of knowledge transfer and cooperation. It is important to consolidate it. It's important to bring different grades of syllabus, which would cater to different types of people. Some people would want more Krishna consciousness, less material emphasis. Some people want more material emphasis, less Krishna consciousness. So there are different types of people according to different inclinations. They would prefer different types of syllabus. So therefore, it is required and it should be developed, and hopefully eventually it will be developed. Time, resource, best of minds, and money needs to go into this. It's an important task. And if we succeed, then the world will follow us. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Please read.
Prabhuji, yeah, thank you, Prabhuji, for all these wonderful points you spoke. How consolidating all and efforts and making some syllabus would be very helpful. But just like some basic courses, if it is done, let's say, just like we have Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav and all that, this is which Prabhupada has envisioned for any regular ISKCON devotee who's seriously practicing Krishna consciousness. So if some like basic course, which may be not like, as you said, different needs may be there for different children, depending on their interests and all that, but some basic course, which gives at least platform to those children who may be, seriously inclined in Krishna consciousness at least. So that way, yeah.
Actually, we are in the process of developing something like that. We have a team of people who are working on this, and we're in the process of developing something like that. So the work is going on. For the past 3 years, we have been working on this. Work is going on. So that work is going on. Once we I think we published one book, and then we have put it into teaching. We need to see how the teachers use it, how the students respond to it. We need to see. We are in the process of publishing. We actually published one book which is equivalent to the EVS in environmental science and social studies. So we published one book which is meant for grade 1 to grade 5. With the teacher's guide, with workbook, we published one. Now we are working on history and geography. So it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. It takes multiple revisions to get there, and then finally give it to the teachers, and then ask them to use it, and then get feedback, then again correct it. It's a process. Education is always, Brahminical work always takes time. It's not like a easy thing to do. But we do hope that over a period of 5 to 6 years from now, we will have something substantial to offer to everybody for primary education.
Thank you.
And that's our intention, that we want to offer to everyone for primary education. And then consult on broader terms, and then get more feedback, and then do more correction, and do more revisions, etc., which is like an ongoing thing, and then ultimately, our system should be that we should actually form our own board. We should approach government, and then we should form our own board. Like we have CBSE board, we have NIOS, we have now Indian knowledge, some board has come. So like that, we should form our own board. We should approach the government, and we should say that we'll actually have ISKCON Board of Education, and we will actually give education based on that board syllabus, and we will give certification, etc. So this is like long-term process, but we should go there because 10,000 years is there. So we are meant to achieve all these things. So we are trying from our side to actually do something like this, to actually have a proper primary education syllabus. Takes time. And if anyone is interested in the project, and if anyone wants to work on syllabus, etc., you can write to me privately. I can always share what is being done, and I can, and then if you want to contribute in a certain way, then you can definitely come and contribute in a certain way. It's not, I mean, without affecting your primary services, whatever you are doing. Definitely we can do something. I'm not trying to recruit people, don't misunderstand. Whatever service you are doing, I'm quite happy with that. Okay, please read.
The same transcendental sound is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Abhinatman Nama Namino. There is no difference between the holy name of the Lord and the Lord himself.
Okay, so 12:07, we should take a break, and then we should come back after 10 minutes, and then we'll continue. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare. After the break. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Okay, so let's continue. None of these conditions of living entities, namely deep sleep, dreaming, and wakefulness, is substantial.
They are simply displays of various phases of conditional life.
life. One is situated in different positions in various forms of life that are all but creations of the illusory energy, which works under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Supreme Lord, the ultimate actor, and the conditioned living entity should simply remember this original actor, Sri Krishna. Our only duty is to remember the Supreme Director of this illusory energy, Krishna. For us to do this, the Shastra advises us. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam. One should constantly chant the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Yeah, so the most important point is that we should not take to heart some feelings which comes due to the interactions of anarthas or the interactions of false ego or these illusory transactions. We should not take them to heart. Sometimes it happens. This is the nature of this material world. And then there are many transactions which are happening even within the society of devotees, but they are illusory in nature. Like somebody may have a difference with somebody else, they may have a fight, or they may have a difference of opinion, or there may be some difficulty doing certain things. One should not take these things to heart so seriously. One should actually understand that these are all just interactions of the illusory energy. And then one should not break one's heart. One should not, process that in the mind so much again and again and again and again. Should not do all these things. You should just take it easy. Okay, this is all interactions of illusory energy. It's bound to be there. This material world is bound to be miserable. One should accept it. Okay, misery is going to be there. Some friction is always going to be there, even within the interaction of devotees, because of our own immaturity, or in the mutual some immaturity is there. Some anarthas are clashing with some other anarthas. So these things could happen. One should not take it seriously. One should understand that these are all simply interactions of illusory energy, and one should try to focus one's resources, which is mind, intelligence, the senses, the sensory activities. All these things one should try to focus it on chanting the holy name and serving the Supreme Lord. So they are not different, because the meaning of Hare Krishna Mahamantra is that we are asking Krishna and Srimati Radharani to actually engage us in their service. So then when we chant the holy name, definitely some service is going to come. So then the chanting and the service, they are not different from each other. So one should focus one's resources on those things. One should not focus one's resources on things that which are illusory. Bhaktivinoda Thakur's song is quoted here in Prabhupada. The purport, which Maya vase why are you being carried away by the waves of illusory energy in various phases of dreaming and wakefulness? They're all creations of Maya. So we should be careful not to be carried away by these things. We should try to focus on Krishna consciousness. Okay.
Only one question I wanted to ask, that sometimes what happens is that some situations, if we analyze, then we come up with a better solution, or how I can safeguard myself from it getting repeated again. But at the same time, as you said, that it should not get, that somebody is hovering on that and bogged up with it for a long time. So where lies the thin line difference between these two extremes?
So the simple thing is that Any situation, you take it and then you see how can I utilize it to advance in my Krishna consciousness. That's a very, very, very simplistic approach. That any situation which comes in front of you, someone criticizes you. You think, okay, how can I utilize this criticism to do service better or to advance in Krishna consciousness? If you are able to process things like that, then you are good. Then it is nice. Then you actually got something positive out of it, rather than just brooding on it. Oh, why this guy told me like this? It should be some politics. I saw him speaking to the other guy. That guy made another comment on that day. So that comment and this comment is linked, and both of them are talking something. Something is cooking behind me, and these guys are getting into big politics against me. Oh, why? Not okay. Just get what comes in front of us. If we can utilize it, if we can see, can I somehow figure out to utilize it to progress in my Krishna consciousness? It's fine, it's okay, good. Or if you are not able to utilize it in Krishna consciousness, there's no need to contemplate on that. If it is trivial, if it is something substantial, then we can go to our seniors and then we can ask them, so this is something substantial is happening with me. My mind is going so much into it. I want to understand how to utilize this in Krishna service. Then get some advice, get some direction, and then just move on with life. That's it. There's no need to brood into things. And also, we should not keep any resentment at heart. Like somebody might say something to us, force of the moment, somebody might say something to us, or somebody might act in a certain way to us, which may not be very pleasant. But we should not keep it at heart. Let it go. Okay, nature of interaction in Kali Yuga is like this. Let it go. And then try to see that how we can have at least a neutral approach towards that person. If we can have nice approach to that person, is fine. At least we should become neutral towards that person. Okay, he is there, I'm there. We live, we do our duties, we do our Krishna consciousness, and life goes on. At least we should have that neutral approach. We should not resent activities which is happening in the association of devotees. We should not have any resentment. Sometimes I have seen devotees, they carry so much resentment in their heart. There's so much bitterness is there, so much difference. It's okay, what is there? Sometimes everything is good, sometimes nothing is good. It's the very nature of material world is like this. If material world is not like this, why Krishna will tell Dukhalayam Asashvatam? Krishna will tell this Sukhalayam. Why he will tell this Dukhalayam? So the very fact that Krishna is saying that it is Dukhalayam, and of course the Lord is also going to discuss this point further. Lord Sankarsana is going to expand this point further towards the end, where he speaks about getting opposite results to what we need whenever we endeavor in this material world. So it's the very nature of this place is like that. So if we can focus on how to use everything to progress in Krishna consciousness, that's a good approach to have.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, please read.
He forgets that Tattvam Asi applies in terms of the marginal position of the living entity who is like sunshine. There is heat and light in the sun, and there is heat and light in the sunshine, and thus they are qualitatively one. But one should not forget that the sunshine rests on the sun. When one thinks that the living entity is non-different in all respects from the Supreme Lord, there is no doubt that he is in ignorance, tamaha.
Yeah. So that's Tattvamasi. I don't know if we discussed this in this class or other class. I'm a little confused. We did discuss Tattvamasi. Yeah, so that more or less brings us to the end of this chapter. And towards the end, the Lord brings up this topic that the nature of material world is that you try to do something, you always get opposite result of it. You try to be happy, you have to be miserable. That's the very nature of material world. And people will also say that you work hard so that you can be happy. So why should I work hard to be happy? I should just be happy to be happy. Nobody asked this question that why should I work hard to be happy? Why can't I just be happy to be happy? No, they say, no, you have to work hard to be happy. And then in future you will be happy. Who sees when the future will come? This all this future happiness and all is like something only. And consistently we are told this, in future you will be happy. If you actually meditate on this, you will know that you have been consistently preached that in future you will be happy. And then we also preach to others that, hey, you work hard, in future you will be happy. And what future, where you will be happy, nobody knows. So that's the very nature of this material world. Bhagavatam points out this quite regularly to us. It regularly reminds us, this place is a very funny place. You want to be happy, you have to become miserable. Regularly it reminds us, Bhagavatam regularly reminds this fact to us. From third canto, when the same point is made, when Vidura is asking question to Maitreya, same point is made when Brahma is asking, when Brahma is praying to the Lord, the same point is being made. When the demigods pray to the Lord, the same point is being made. And then again, the same point is made when Jadabharta is speaking Pragugana. Again, the same point is now being made here when the Lord is speaking. And again, Prahlad will make the same point. So consistently we are told how funny is this place. A strange place, this place which we are living, very, very strange place. The moment you want happiness, you get distress. So anyway, so that brings us to the end of this chapter. So any questions, comments? Otherwise, we'll move to the next chapter. I'm a little worried because we still have 3 more chapters to go and then we only have 1 day. I don't know what is going to happen. Maybe I think we'll have class on Saturday, or if you're all busy on Saturday, maybe 1 class on Monday. I think so, whatever. I'll talk to Shampoo, what will happen, and we'll see. Looks like at least we require 1 more class. Last two chapters are not very substantial. They are simple chapters. But anyway, let's see. Let's take it easy. Let's go on. Let's see how things go. I have to take this call. I'm taking a call from. Just hold on. Okay, that was very simple. Let's start.
Srila Sukdev Goswami said, after offering obeisances to the direction from which Ananta, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, had disappeared, Chitraketu began traveling in outer space as the head of the Vidyadharas. Being praised by great sages and saints and by the inhabitants of Siddhaloka and Charana Loka, Chitraketu, the most powerful mystic yogi, wandered about enjoying life for millions of years with bodily strength and senses free from deterioration. He traveled within the valleys of Sumeru mountain, which is the place of perfection for various kinds of mystic power. In those valleys, he enjoyed life with the women of Vidyadhar Loka by chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord Hari. One time, while King Chitraketu was traveling in outer space on a brilliantly effulgent airplane given to him by Lord Vishnu, he saw Lord Shiva surrounded by Siddhas and Charanas. Lord Shiva was sitting in an assembly of great saintly persons and embracing Parvati on his lap with his arm. Chitraketu laughed loudly and spoke within the hearing of Parvati.
Hmm.
Chitraketu said, Lord Shiva, the spiritual master of the general populace, is the best of all living entities who have accepted material bodies. He enunciates the system of religion. Yet how wonderful it is that he is embracing his wife Parvati in the midst of an assembly of great saintly persons. Lord Shiva, whose hair is matted on his head, has certainly undergone great austerities and penances. Indeed, he is the president in the assembly of strict followers of Vedic principles. Nonetheless, he is seated with his wife on his lap in the midst of saintly persons and is embracing her as if he were a shameless, ordinary human being. Ordinary conditioned persons generally embrace their wives and enjoy their company in solitary places. How wonderful it is that Lord Mahadev, although a great master of austerity, is embracing his wife openly in the midst of an assembly of great saints. Srila Sukdev Goswami continued, My dear king, after hearing Chitraketu's statement, Lord Shiva, the most powerful personality, whose knowledge is fathomless, simply smiled and remained silent. And all the members of the assembly followed the Lord by not saying anything. Not knowing the prowess of Lord Shiva and Parvati, Chitraketu strongly criticized them. His statements were not at all pleasing, and therefore the goddess Parvati, being very angry, spoke as follows to Chitraketu, who thought himself better than Lord Shiva in controlling the senses. The goddess Parvati said, Alas, has this upstart now received a post from which to punish shameless persons like us? Has he been appointed ruler, carrier of the rod of punishment? Is he now the only master of everything? Alas, Lord Brahma, who has taken his birth from the lotus flower, does not know the principles of religion, nor do the great saints like Bhrigu and Narada, nor the four Kumaras, headed by Sanat Kumar, Manu and Kapila, have also forgotten the religious principles. I suppose it to be because of this that they have not tried to stop Lord Shiva from behaving improperly. This Chitraketu is the lowest of Kshatriyas, for he has impudently overridden Brahma and the other demigods by insulting Lord Shiva, upon whose lotus feet they always meditate. Lord Shiva is personified religion and the spiritual master of the entire world, and therefore Chitraketu must be punished. This person is puffed up because of his achievements, thinking, I am the best. He does not deserve to approach the shelter of Lord Vishnu's lotus feet, which are worshipped by all saintly persons, for he is impudent, thinking himself greatly important. O impudent one, my dear son, now take birth in a low, sinful family of demons, so that you will not commit such an offense again toward exalted saintly persons in this world. Sri Sukdev Goswami continued, My dear King Parikshit, when Chitraketu was cursed by Parvati, he descended from his airplane, bowed before her with great humility, and pleased her completely. Chitraketu said, My dear mother, with my own hands folded together, I accept the curse upon me. I do not mind the curse, for happiness and distress are given by the demigods as a result of one's past deeds. Deluded by ignorance, the living entity wanders in the forest of this material world, enjoying the happiness and distress resulting from his past deeds everywhere and at all times. Therefore, my dear mother, neither you nor I am to be blamed for this incident. In this material world, neither the living entity himself nor others, friends and enemies, are the cause of material happiness and distress. But because of gross ignorance, the living entity thinks that he and others are the cause. This material world resembles the waves of a constantly flowing river. Therefore, what is a curse and what is a favor? What are the heavenly planets and what are the hellish planets? What is actually happiness and what is actually distress? Because the waves flow constantly, none of them has an eternal effect. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is one, unaffected by the conditions of the material world. He creates all the conditioned souls by his own personal potency. Because of being contaminated by the material energy, the living entity is put into ignorance and thus into different conditions of bondage. Sometimes by knowledge, the living entity is given liberation. In Sattuguna and Rajoguna, he is subjected to happiness and distress. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is equally disposed toward all living entities. Therefore, no one is very dear to him and no one is a great enemy for him. No one is his friend and no one is his relative. Being unattached to the material world, he has no affection for so-called happiness or hatred for so-called distress. The two terms, happiness and distress, are relative. Since the Lord is always happy, for him there is no question of distress. Although the Supreme Lord is unattached to our happiness and distress according to karma, and although no one is his enemy or favorite, he creates pious and impious activities through the agency of his material potency. Thus, for the continuation of the materialistic way of life, he creates happiness and distress, good fortune and bad, bondage and liberation, birth and death.
And who is that material potency?
Mahamaya.
Who is that? That is Parvati.
Parvati, yeah. Parvati herself, yeah.
She is the material potency.
Yes, yes.
And then Chitraketu is telling her, what is her role? Saying, this is what you are doing. It's okay. Okay, continue.
Oh, mother, you are now unnecessarily angry. But since all my happiness and distress are destined by my past activities, I do not plead to be excused or relieved from your curse. Although what I have said is not wrong, please let whatever you think is wrong be pardoned. Sri Sukdev Goswami continued, O King Parikshit, subduer of the enemy, after Chitketu satisfied Lord Shiva and his wife Parvati, he boarded his airplane and left as they looked on. When Lord Shiva and Parvati saw that Chitketu, although informed of the curse, was unafraid, they smiled, being fully astonished by his behavior. Thereafter, in the presence of the great sage Narad, the demons, the inhabitants of Siddhaloka, and his personal associates, Lord Shiva, who is most powerful, spoke to his wife Parvati while they all listened. Lord Shiva said, My dear beautiful Parvati, have you seen the greatness of the Vaishnavas? Being servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari, they are great souls and are not interested in any kind of material happiness. Devotees solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan never fear any condition of life. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same. For such devotees are interested only in the service of the Lord.
Yeah, of course, very famous sloka, Narayana Parasarvena Kutaschana Vivyati, Surga
Purga Narkeshu Apitulyartha Darshinaha. Because of the actions of the Supreme Lord's external energy, the living entities are conditioned in contact with material bodies. The dualities of happiness and distress, birth and death, curses and favors are natural byproducts of this contact in the material world.
So he is telling Maya, you are in Maya.
As one mistakenly considers a flower garland to be a snake or experiences happiness and distress in a dream, so in the material world, by a lack of careful consideration, we differentiate between happiness and distress, considering one good and other bad. Persons engaged in devotional service to Lord Vasudev, Krishna, have naturally perfect knowledge and detachment from this material world. Therefore, such devotees are not interested in the so-called happiness or so-called distress of this world. Neither I, that is Lord Shiva, nor Brahma, nor the Ashwani Kumaras, nor Narada, or the other great sages who are Brahma's sons, nor even the demigods can understand the pastimes and personality of the Supreme Lord. Although we are part of the Supreme Lord, we consider ourselves independent, separate controllers, and thus we cannot understand his identity. He holds no one as very dear and no one as inimical. He has no one for his own relative and no one is alien to him. He is actually the soul of all living entities. Thus, he is the auspicious friend of all living beings and is very near and dear to all of them. This magnanimous Chitraketu is a dear devotee of the Lord. He is equal to all living entities and is free from attachment and hatred. Similarly, I am also very dear to Lord Narayan. Therefore, no one should be astonished to see the activities of the most exalted devotees of Narayan, for they are free from attachment and envy. They are always peaceful and they are equal to everyone. Sri Sukdev Goswami said, O king, after hearing this speech by her husband, the demigoddess Uma, the wife of Lord Shiva, gave up her astonishment at the behavior of King Chitraketu and became steady in intelligence. The great devotee Chitraketu was so powerful that he was quite competent to curse Mother Parvati in retaliation. But instead of doing so, he very humbly accepted the curse and bowed his head before Lord Shiva and his wife. This is very much to be appreciated as the standard behavior of a Vaishnava. Being cursed by Mother Durga, Bhavani, the wife of Lord Shiva, that same Chitraketu accepted birth in a demoniac species of life. Although still fully equipped with transcendental knowledge and practical application of that knowledge in life, he appeared as a demon at the fire sacrifice performed by Twasta, and thus he became famous as Vritrasur. My dear King Parikshit, you inquired from me how Vritrasur, a great devotee, took birth in a demoniac family. Thus, I have tried to explain to you everything about this. Chitraketu was a great devotee, Mahatma. If one hears this history of Chitraketu from a pure devotee, the listener also is freed from the conditional life of material existence. One who rises from bed early in the morning and recites this history of Chitraketu, controlling his words and mind and remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead, will return home back to Godhead without difficulty. Thus ends the translations of the 6th canto, 17th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Mother Parvati Curses Chitraketu.
Okay, so it's a very layered pastime. There are many layers in this, and Prabhupada also explores all those layers. There is a whole external layer of this pastime which deals with Vaishnava Aparadha, the effect of criticizing a Vaishnava. And then if you dig deeper into this, again, the same thing comes out, but it comes out in a very different way. There are two pastimes in Bhagavatam. They are like this. One is this Parvati cursing Chitraketu. The other one is the Kumaras cursing Jaya and Vijaya. And if you actually, the pastime starts, it looks as if that those who are cursing, they are right, and those who are getting cursed, they are wrong. By the time pastime ends, you're already starting to understand that those who curse, they are wrong, and those who got cursed, they are right. Then you find that the whole thing has shifted from one end to the other end. So that's why the pastime has quite a few layers, and Prabhupada very wonderfully explores these things in his purports. So therefore, we'll take some time to read these purports and see how much we can reach today. Okay, please read.
It is to be understood that Maharaj Chitraketu, although surrounded by beautiful women from Vidyadhar Loka, did not forget to glorify the Lord by chanting the holy name of the Lord.
So even though he was given the position and the enjoyment by the Lord, so and the enjoyment and position was naturally there, he was neither attached to it, nor did he get carried away by it. And then, but he was fixed in his devotional service. So this is called tolerating happiness. I don't know if we discussed this in this class or some other class. I am taking two classes. I'm getting a little bit confused about what I discussed in which class. So did we discuss about tolerating happiness?
Yeah, you said something really on that.
Yeah. So this is called tolerating happiness. What Chitraketu did in this case is called tolerating happiness. That he did not get carried away the high grade happiness which was awarded to him. And then he was still grounded. He was doing his devotional service. Okay, please read.
Rohit, for tolerating happiness, you mentioned surely something, but if you like to explain more, you may proceed.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point. I just explained that. When we are in distress, I think I said the same thing. When we are in distress, it is easy to remember the Lord. Because we are in distress, we need some help, and it is very easy to remember the Lord. But when we are happy, that time it is very difficult to remember the Lord. When things are going good for us, when our projects are flourishing, when everything is happening, and when whatever we touch is coming up very nicely, that time it is very difficult to remember that it's all happening due to Krishna's mercy. I am just an instrument. That time we may start thinking, or we may get carried away thinking that, oh, I'm doing very nicely. Or things are happening for me, like, I'm my efforts are very good, my efforts are giving fruits. Finally, whatever I have worked for, now it's happening. So we may start thinking like this. We may start with that idea that I am the doer, might start cropping back into our consciousness, that I am the doer, I am doing these things. That might start cropping back into our consciousness. So when things are very favorable and things are happening nicely, at that time we should still be grounded on the reality. What is the reality? The reality is that, like what the Lord was saying in the previous chapter, that He is the actor. That He is the actor. That's the reality. And then we are just taking that part according to His will. We're just taking that part. And ultimately, He is the one who is doing it. So therefore, we should be aware of. We should be aware of that, and we should be very grateful for that, because when things are going well, then also from all round you start getting appreciation. That everyone starts saying, "Oh, Prabhuji, you're doing very good. You're excellent. Your service is nice." And then so many people are saying, "Oh, Prabhu, you're great. You're this. You're that." When devotees want to glorify, they are so generous in glorification. Also, they will simply glorify. Simply they'll keep glorifying. So then we should not think that this is all glorification is for me and I am correct. And it's all what they're telling about me is correct. This is what I am. We should not start thinking like that. So that's the danger of not tolerating happiness. Even if we slightly think like that, then that means we are still going into the realm of false ego. But yes, maybe everything Lord is doing, but still I also have something. I have also put something there. So that's why things are happening. So, I also have my thing there. Yes, Lord's mercy is there, but my thing is also there. When you start thinking like that, then it becomes a problem. So that is what is called tolerating happiness. Means that when things are happening nicely, still you're grounded to the reality that Krishna is the actor and you're just the instrument. And then you don't become proud. You remain the same person. You don't start walking in a different way. Sometimes, you see people that when things are happening, they start walking in a different way. They keep their head in a different way. They start walking in a different way. Their whole demeanor changes, and how they are doing. They try to have some aura around them. So these things should not be. Just remind the same person who you are.
Yes, Vaji, thank you.
Yes, please.
The
read.
Lord's plan was that Chitketu be cursed by Parvati to become Vritrasur, so that in his next life he could quickly return home back to Godhead. For Parvati to be embraced by Lord Shiva was natural in a relationship between husband and wife. This was nothing extraordinary for Chitketu to see. Nonetheless, Chitraketu laughed loudly to see Lord Shiva in that situation, even though he should not have done so. Thus, he was eventually cursed, and this curse was the cause of his returning home back to Godhead.
So normally you see that great, you see Narsingha with Lakshmi. Okay, so Narsingha is keeping Lakshmi in his lap, and then he is embracing her. Even in Narsingha Kavacham, we say Lakshmi Alingita Vamangam. Lakshmi Alingita Vamangam means that he has embraced Lakshmi and he is keeping her by the side. So it is natural for great personalities to keep their consorts by their side, and to actually take darshan of the Lord with his consort is considered most auspicious. And the same thing goes with Lord Shiva also, because he is so great that he is as great as the Lord. So for him, it's auspicious to see Lord Shiva and Parvati together. Parvati sitting on the Lord Shiva's lap and Lord Shiva embracing her. It's an auspicious darshan to see, actually. So there's nothing to criticize. There's nothing strange in this. Lord Shiva is not an ordinary street urchin who is trying to have some nice time with another woman who is of loose character. They both are the father and mother of the universe. They both are the father and mother of the universe. In that sense, Lord Shiva is a transformation of the Purusha, and Parvati is a transformation of the Prakriti. So therefore, they both are as good as the Supreme Lord and his consort. So definitely there is nothing wrong in Lord Shiva keeping Parvati in his lap in assembly of sages. And the sages are actually getting purified by seeing both of them. So there is nothing to criticize. But still, because it is Lord's plan, so therefore, Chitraketu criticized. And then in the process, he got cursed. And then that also is very instructive for us, not to comment beyond our adhikar or beyond our level, not to find fault beyond our level. Especially when we see that a devotee is otherwise properly situated. Even if we are unable to reconcile a certain discrepancy in their behavior, we should not directly criticize. We should rather try to find some answer for it, some satisfactory explanation for it. We see the same thing happening in the third canto when Brahma gets attracted to his daughter Vak. So the great sages like Marichi, they don't laugh at Brahma and criticize him. Rather, they approach Brahma very respectfully and then ask him that, can you please explain why you're doing this? You're doing something which has never been done by you in your previous days, or it has not been attempted by any other Brahma. So why are you doing this? Can you please explain? Is there some higher reason for doing this? Are you trying to teach us something? What's the reason for doing this? And when Brahma was not able to give satisfactory reply, then they all approached the Supreme Lord and prayed to the Supreme Lord, saying that please correct the situation, or please act accordingly so that everything becomes auspicious. So then Marichi and others, they retained their exalted position. But the sons of Marichi, they actually laughed at Brahma. Hey, what is this Brahma? He is running behind his own daughter. Hey, how did he become Brahma? Hey, forehead, yes, he is doing still. So for laughing like that, they got punished. They took birth in demoniac birth as the sons of Kalademi. And again, they were punished by cursed by Hiranyakashipu, to be killed by their own father. So in the next birth, they were born as sons of Devaki, and Kalademi, who was Kamsa, he came and killed them with his own hands. And finally, they got delivered. So even when we find something which is a discrepancy in a person who is otherwise saintly and otherwise exalted, it's not that we should ignore it, but at least we should approach it with caution. And then we should try to seek some proper explanation. And when proper explanation is not forthcoming, then we should escalate it. There's a whole institutional mechanism to escalate any abnormal behavior or and whatever, an abusive situation, whatever it is. There is a whole mechanism to escalate it. We should utilize that mechanism to escalate it. We should not keep quiet. It's not that we should not misunderstand this. It's not our duty to keep quiet. It's not, it could become Vaishnava Aparadh. No, we should approach and ask in such a way that it is appropriate. It's appropriate. So the situation can be properly resolved. It's a very important thing. Okay. Now, what is the difference? See, in fourth canto, in the beginning of this unit, we saw that Daksha was criticizing Lord Shiva. And now, in the end of this unit, in the sixth canto, Chitraketu is criticizing Lord Shiva. So what is the difference between Daksha's criticism and the Chitraketu's criticism? Daksha also got punished, Chitraketu also got punished. So what is the difference between these two criticisms? Do you find any difference or you don't find any difference?
So the one answer came is that Daksha was envious, but Chitraketu was not.
Okay, good, very nice. Okay.
Chitraketu was pure devotee, Daksha was not.
Okay, let us take that as an answer. Okay. Any other points?
Pradeep, another answer is Daksha was criticizing Lord Shiva out of envy, and here Chitraketu Maharaj was appreciating in a friendly way.
Okay.
Prabhuji, Daksha was criticizing from envy and hatred to Lord Shiva, whereas Chitraketu was like doing Vyaj, they means actually glorification, indirect glorification like that.
Okay, so this point came up previously. It's a good point. Okay. Any other thought process from anybody?
Chitraketu Maharaj was laughing as per Lord's plan, and this Daksha was criticizing based on his ego.
Okay, that's also a good point. Very nice point. Very good. Okay, any other point? Any other reflections on this? Anybody else? Any other reflection on this?
Chitraketu Maharaj further got uplifted and Daksha got degraded.
Okay, okay. That's the result we are talking about. But we are talking about the nature of criticism itself. Anyway, good. Okay. So different points came, which are all very good, very nice. Also, a few things I just more or less consolidate. It's not that something I need to add, just more or less consolidate a little bit. Of course, Daksha was envious of Lord Shiva, as it was pointed out by many. And Chitraketu was not envious of Lord Shiva. His criticism didn't come out of envy. And Daksha actually was acting in a superior position. And Daksha was trying to present himself from superior position. And then he was trying to, present as if he is a well-wisher of Lord Shiva and he's trying to correct Lord Shiva. Chitraketu did not do that. Chitraketu did not speak from a superior position, or he did not try to correct Lord Shiva. He just wondered that how wonderful this is that Lord Shiva is actually doing like this. And very quickly, Daksha started insulting Lord Shiva. If you actually see what Daksha spoke, if you remember what Daksha spoke, he said, my daughter is like a doe and Lord Shiva is like a monkey, and then I got him married to because this person who is Parameshti is supposed to be very intelligent. He told me to do that, so therefore I have done this. And then he criticized the physical appearance of Lord Shiva. So he went on criticizing Lord Shiva in different ways, even though he started as if he was giving moral instruction to Lord Shiva. But very quickly he degenerated to personally insulting Lord Shiva about his appearance, about his residence, about his demeanor, about his behavior. So many things he criticized. And in the process, he also tried to prove that he is more better than Lord Shiva. But this is not the case with Chitraketu. Chitraketu did not do all those things. Chitraketu never criticized Lord Shiva personally. He just observed his wonder on a particular incident. That's it. But he sufficiently glorified Lord Shiva. Even though he expressed his wonder on the particular action of Lord Shiva, but he sufficiently glorified Lord Shiva. He actually said Lord Shiva is the supreme spiritual master. All these things he said. He sufficiently glorified Lord Shiva. And the other point which will be later brought up is actually Daksha was in an inferior position to Lord Shiva, and he tried to act as a superior. But Chitraketu is not like that. Chitraketu is not like that. Lord Shiva recognized Chitraketu as good as himself. I mean, Lord Shiva recognized Chitraketu as being in the, we saw the translation, where Lord Shiva is actually recognizing Chitraketu as someone like him, more or less like an equal. So he was recognizing Chitraketu like that. So there are some differences between both the cases, even though Lord Shiva was criticized in both cases. So in one case, which is Daksha's case, Lord Shiva became very morose and then he left. Means that he was unhappy with the whole thing, that these people cursing and these people cursing back and forth curse. He didn't like the whole situation. He just left. And for a long time, the relationship between Daksha and Lord Shiva was not very good. But in case of Chitraketu, Lord Shiva actually smiled. He heard what Chitraketu said, and his response was a smile. And then Prabhupada quotes Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur to decode that smile. What was that smile of Lord Shiva? What that smile meant? So that smile simply meant a friendly counter criticism of Chitraketu. Of course, we'll see that in the purport. So they were actually teasing each other. It's just like two people who are teasing each other, who are equals, and then they just tease each other. So they were just teasing each other. That's it. So there's a lot of difference between the criticism of Daksha and criticism of Chitraketu. Okay. Please read.
Chitraketu appreciated the exalted position of Lord Shiva, and therefore he remarked at how wonderful it was that Lord Shiva was acting like an ordinary human being. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks that although Chitraketu criticized Lord Shiva, he did not offend Lord Shiva like Daksha. Daksha considered Lord Shiva insignificant, but Chitraketu expressed his wonder at Lord Shiva's being situated in that way.
Yeah, so we discussed this in detail. Okay.
Chitraketu appreciated how great Lord Shiva was to be unaffected even in that situation. Therefore, Chitraketu was not an offender. He merely expressed his wonder. Chitraketu's purpose in criticizing Lord Shiva is somewhat mysterious and cannot be understood by a common man. Although he was externally exhibiting the behavior of a common man and not following etiquette, such actions cannot diminish his exalted position. King Chitraketu desired that Lord Shiva sees this external behavior so that others might be saved from criticizing him and thus becoming offenders. If one thinks that Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the only perfect personality, whereas the demigods, even such demigods as Lord Shiva, are inclined to improper social affairs, he is an offender. Considering all this, King Chitraketu was somewhat harsh in his behavior with Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva, who is always deep in knowledge, could understand Chitraketu's purpose, and therefore he was not at all angry. Rather, he simply smiled and remained silent. Consequently, following the behavior of Lord Shiva, they did not protest. Instead, following their master, they remained silent. If the members of the assembly thought that Chitraketu had blasphemed Lord Shiva, they would certainly have left at once, blocking their ears with their hands.
Yeah, so there was a lot of indication, visible indication that Chitraketu is not at fault. But Parvati chose to overlook everything because she was just carried away by the statement delivered by Chitraketu. So therefore, she became very angry.
Chitraketu should have known that Lord Shiva, although sitting in that way, was not to be criticized. The difficulty was that Chitraketu, having become a great devotee of Lord Vishnu, Sankarshan, was somewhat proud at having achieved Lord Sankarshana's favor, and therefore thought that he could now criticize anyone, even Lord Shiva. This kind of pride in a devotee is never tolerated.
Yeah, so this is very important. So this is another lesson which we are learning. So one lesson which we are learning is the effect of Vaishnava Aparadha, which we'll discuss in the coming purports. And this is another lesson which we are learning. that in due course of our services, we may actually get some position, we may actually get some influence or some power, whatever we may get in the due course of doing our various services. But by getting all these things, we should not automatically think that, okay, now I can criticize anybody. We should not automatically think like that. We should be very careful, even if we have to correct someone as part of our duty or part of our service. We should try to do that in a proper Krishna conscious way, with proper compassion, and in a very peaceful way. We should try to do that. We should not try to act in such a way that the position or the power or the influence which we are having, it is very visible. We should not try to do that in that way. We should not try to do that in that way. Okay, I am in position. No, you are fired. Okay, go. You are fired. You did this. You said this, so you're fired. Go. No, we should not treat devotees like that. We should try to sit with them, try to reason out with them, try to understand, make them understand that taking some reaction to what they have done is actually good for their Krishna consciousness. We should always try to make them understand this. So you please take some reaction for what they have done, and this is good for your Krishna consciousness. It will actually help you to become a better devotee. It will actually help you to become a better person. So therefore, considering what is good for their Krishna consciousness, they should voluntarily accept some austerity, something like that. They should. That is something which we should try to explain to them very nicely, that what is being given to you as a correction or as an improvement, it's meant for your own good. It's not like a display of one's own power or one's own position or one's own influence. We should be very careful with these things. So then it means that we are proud, and the Lord doesn't want us to become proud. So therefore, he will do something to remove that pride. That's why Parvati became quite angry with Lord Shiva, with Chitraketu, that why this guy is doing like this. So he deserves to be punished. He's proud, he deserves to be punished. He should not be proud. Why he is proud? So therefore, she asked these questions that is Brahma not aware what is right and what is wrong, or have you now become the authority? Have you taken that position of criticizing everyone? All these kind of different questions she asked. And then she also said, Lord Shiva is personified religion, spiritual master of the entire world. So therefore Chitraketu should be punished. Okay.
One question, Roji.
Yes.
Roji, here, like in the previous purport, it is also mentioned that he was appreciating indirectly this kind of thing also.
Correct.
And here it's mentioned that he was somewhat proud also that
Correct.
way.
Yeah.
So means by this in this like when we see that gopis also became proud, then Krishna left and all. So that is act of internal potency of the Lord.
Right.
That's how it happens. So here, I mean, when Chitraketu Maharaj, then this thing what Prabhupada is writing. So what exactly is this, Praji? Is this like because he's having direct darshan of the Lord also.
Yeah.
So if you can reconcile this, Praji.
So externally, if you look, it looks like act of external potency, because the external potency is Parvati. She is cursing. So it looks like it's an act of external potency. But it's actually not act of external potency. It's actually act of internal potency. That was explained by Prabhupada before, that the Lord actually wanted him to come back. And the Lord wanted to create a situation where Chitraketu actually starts earning to come back. So he starts thinking that I should now go back. It's enough. It's finished. It's finished. It's okay. Let me just go back. I don't want to be in this material world anymore. So he wanted to create such a situation, that hankering for the Lord. he wanted to create that hankering for the Lord in Chitraketu. The Lord wanted to create that. And you see that hankering in Vritrasura's prayers. You know, when Vritrasura prays, he first gives one example. He says that, just like the young birds, they are waiting for the mother bird to come and feed them. He's thinking, and then he's thinking, it's not a good example. It's such a bad example. Why did I give this example? It's not good. So then he gave another example. He said, just like the calf is like is waiting for the cow to drink milk. And then he said, it's also not a very good example. Why did I give this example? Then he says, just like a wife is waiting for her husband. Then he said, okay, now this is a good example. Okay, fine. Okay. So then he becomes, so he's trying to express his hankering. And he's also saying that, he's remembering that how the Lord awarded various destinations to various devotees. The various exalted devotees have been there, and the Lord has awarded various destinations to them, just like the Lord awarded the destination of Vidyadhara's king, the king of Vidyadharas to Chitraketu. The Lord also awarded various destinations to various devotees, like for Dhruva, he gave Dhruvaloka, and then for Bali, he gave the rulership of Rasatala planet. So he gave various things to various devotees. So Chitraketu is always thinking of those things, and he's thinking, oh, the Lord might again give me something like this. So he's saying, oh, I don't want all those things. Ananaka Prashtam, that whole shloka is there. So where Vritrasura is saying that please don't do all these things to me. You already done this to me. It's enough. I have seen the effect of all these things. So now I am done with it. I am ready to come back to you. So let's not delay it anymore. Oh my Lord, let's just do it. Let me leave this body. Let me just come to you. So that hankering for going back home, back to Godhead, that aspect of missing Krishna in our life. Like Chitraketu is like many devotees who are sincere in their sadhana. So of course he's not a sadhaka, he's a siddha, but I'm just trying to make it a little bit relevant for us. Like there are many devotees, many of us who are actually okay. We want to serve the movement. We are dedicated in our service. We want to do this. We want to do that. We have our projects. We have our preaching. We have different things to do. We are doing all those things, and we are just going on with life like this. We don't miss Krishna. Every day we have a schedule that, okay, get up for Mangalarti, go there, attend Mangalarti, go for Guru Puja, attend Guru Puja, come back. And then when you come back already, when you have prasad, you're already thinking about what service you have to do next. And then you have to go, tuck, you have to do your services. And by the time you already finish your services, already lunchtime, you come have lunch and take little rest. And then already it's time for Sandhya Arati. It's time to go back to the temple and then go to Sandhya Arati, attend the Sandhya Arati in the temple and then attend class. And then by the time you come back, it's already time to sleep. So you slept. And next day you got up. And next day again. Then next day again. So you are filled with what you have to do, and then you're just doing it. You're doing it nicely. You're focusing on it. Things are happening, but you're not missing Krishna. We are not missing Krishna. We are absorbed in what we are doing. We are not missing Krishna. But the whole process of Krishna consciousness is to miss Krishna. And that's what the Goswamis are teaching us. They are actually running all around Vrindavan. They're writing their books. They're doing what they have to do. They're studying Shastra. They're writing so many elaborate commentaries. They're doing the service. They're finding out places of pastime. They're trying to build temples. They're trying to establish preaching. They're doing all their service which they are meant to do, but they're also missing Krishna. He Radhe Vrajadevike Chalalite, He Nandasuno Shri Govardhana Kalpapada Patale Kalindi Vanya Kuta, Goshanto Iti Sarvato Vrajapure, Keder Mahavipalo, Vande Rupa Sanatano, Ravigo, Sri Jiva Gopalako, Radha Kunda Tate Kalinda Tanaya, Dire Chavamsi Vate, Premon Mada Vashad Aseshadasya, Krasto, Pramatto Sada, Gayanto Chakata, Hare Gunavaram, Bhava Vibhuto Mata. Vande Rupa Sanatana Ravigo Sri Jiva Gopalako. So they're actually missing Krishna. They're searching for Krishna. Oh, okay, Krishna, where are you? Oh, Srimati Radharani. Oh, our mistress, where are you? Where are you gone? Where are you? It's not that they're not doing management, they're not doing service, they're not doing preaching, and they're not building temples. They're doing all that, but they're also missing Krishna. So Vidyadhara, as Vidyadhara king is chanting the holy name, he's traveling from here to there, he is millions of years, he's just living like this, and he's going on. He's not missing Krishna. There's no hankering. Okay, Krishna, I want to come back. So the Lord wants to create that situation where his hankering increases. And he wants to go. He's done with it. The Lord wants to create that situation for Chitraketu. So therefore, by the action of the internal potency, through the agency of external potency, Dhritarashtra got cursed. Very, very interesting pastime. Because in the beginning of third canto, we saw how the same situation was the influence of internal potency and external potency. It's an act of external potency in case of Duryodhana, and it's an act of internal potency in case of Vidura. We saw this, if you remember, that Duryodhana tried to insult Vidura, and then in that purport, Prabhupada was writing that the Lord's internal potency and external potency were acting simultaneously. That is one way, that is one pastime. And this is another pastime where the internal potency is actually acting through the agency of external potency itself. The external potency becomes the agency for the internal potency to act. That the Durga, Parvati, she is actually cursing with Chitraketu. She herself becomes the agency for the internal potency to act. Very interesting pastime from that perspective. Now how the Lord's potencies are, Lord is playing with his potency, how he is playing with his potency. It's a very interesting pastime from that perspective.
In Shringi's case also we can say.
Yeah, same.
Similar kind of, yeah.
But there it's not, that again, it's just that the Lord is using a circumstance for Shringi to curse Parikshit. But it's not directly the external potency is the agency there. The agency is Shringi there. And Prabhupada writes that, the Lord acted through Shringi so that Shringi can be forgiven. He's a child, he can be forgiven. So the agency there is Shringi, but here the agency itself is the external potency itself is the agency. That is very interesting from that perspective.
Should I go ahead, Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
Okay. If a devotee thinks Chitraketu nonetheless criticized Lord Shiva, and therefore the opinion of Parvati was that he should be punished. If a devotee thinks that he is very much advanced in devotional service, he is considered puffed up and unfit to sit beneath the shelter of Lord's lotus feet. Unless one is humble and meek, one cannot qualify to sit at the lotus feet of the Lord. Yeah, so these are all important lessons which are learning on the external surface of this pastime. This, like I said, that there's an external surface of this pastime, and that's teaching some very important lessons to us. And then very quickly we are going to dive deeper into this pastime when Chitraketu starts responding to Parvati's curse, and when Lord Shiva speaks, we are going into another layer of this pastime where we are going to learn more important, equally important lessons. So there are two sets of lessons to be learned. That's why I said that there's some layers in this pastime. It's not like so straightforward. Okay. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu described an offense at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava as Hathi Mata, a mad elephant. When a mad elephant enters a nice garden, it spoils the entire garden. Mother Parvati was justified in punishing Chitraketu, for Chitraketu impudently criticized the Supreme Father, Mahadev, who is the father of the living entities conditioned within this material world. A pure Vaishnava should be very careful to engage in his specific duty without criticizing others. This is the safest position. Because Chitraketu was undoubtedly a Vaishnava, he might have been surprised that Parvati had cursed him. Therefore, the goddess Parvati addressed him as Putra or son. Therefore, Mother Parvati spoke to Chitraketu exactly like a mother who says to her naughty child, "My dear child, I am punishing you so that you won't do anything like this again."
So now the consideration is that, of course, Prabhupada is trying to teach us that we should not criticize others because it will constitute Vaishnava Aparadha. But also the other consideration is that Vaishnava Aparadha actually destroys bhakti. But in case of Chitraketu, we find that the curse became the instrument to increase his attachment to Krishna. So therefore, we can also at one level conclude that it was not Vaishnava Aparadha. That's what we're going to discuss later. But at present, Prabhupada is trying to draw lessons from the external activity of what is going on in the pastime itself. So therefore, it is a very pertinent lesson. And Prabhupada says that Parvati is justified in cursing him from that perspective. But the perspective is going to change later when we see the inner layer of this pastime. But this is also a very important point that what Prabhupada makes, that a pure Vaishnava should be very careful to engage in specific duty without criticizing others. That is the safest position. So if it is not our responsibility, and if it's not some big, some abuse type of situation is happening, we should not criticize others. As simple as that. Okay. If there is an abuse type of situation happening, then we should immediately act. We should try to rectify the situation. We should immediately act. We should not think that, oh, this is not my jurisdiction, somebody is abusing somebody, so let it happen like that. What to do? This is all happening. So we should not be like that. Then immediately we should report, we should do what we have to do, we should take some action, whatever action we need to take, we should take. But if it is not like that, if it is some ordinary discrepancies, and if that is not our service area, or if that's not our jurisdiction, then generally we should not criticize. And we should not encourage others to come and criticize also to us. If someone comes and criticizes to us that, you know what is happening there, these guys are doing like this, this, someone comes and criticizes, we should tell them that please go and talk to the proper authority, rather than telling me that is happening like this, happening like that. So this is the authority chain. You go and talk to the proper authority and try to take some action like that. So sometimes devotees may just want to tell what is there in the heart, but still we should advise them properly. Like 2-3 days back, one devotee came and then he was saying so many things. He himself told, is there in my heart? It's bothering me so much. I want to speak to someone. And he said, I thought probably I will speak to you because at least you'll be a little balanced. So let me speak to you. I said, okay, I'm ready to listen whatever you want to say. You say. Then he said something, no, this person doing like this person doing like this. He told some 2-3 things he told. I patiently listened. Then I told him, see, I cannot take any action in this. And whatever you have told, it's genuinely bothering you. So why don't you go to this person who is the authority, and then why don't you just speak to him? And then this can be addressed properly so that you can be satisfied. Why should you keep it in your heart? Better you speak to a person who can take some action on it. And then you get satisfied that some action has been taken, or whatever has been done is okay. You'll be satisfied either this way or that way, you'll be satisfied. And I told him that this is the person, go and speak to him, this is authority. He said, yeah, I think I should go and speak. And then 2 days later, he saw me, and of course, every day we see each other in temple. Then 2 days later, he just smiled at me, and then he embraced me, and then he said, oh, I didn't go to any authority. I spoke to you, my heart got pacified, so I just left it there. I said, it's okay, it's okay, but that's okay. Sometimes it happens like that, but it's our duty not to simply listen to criticism, but to actually give them some proper remedy and be not attached to it. How do you protect yourself from getting affected in the course of hearing such problems or criticism? Generally, you should understand that the nature of Kali Yuga is that is the very nature of Kali. Like there's a very nice example in Bhagavatam that the nature of wind is to blow, the nature of bamboo is to move, the nature of movement is to cause friction, the nature of friction is to produce heat, the nature of heat is to produce fire, And the nature of fire is to burn everything into ashes. And then the whole bamboo group becomes ashes. Now, whose fault it is? Whose fault it is? It's nobody's fault. It's just the nature of various things which come together and act in a certain way, which produces a result which is undesirable. Therefore, we should be aware that in Kali Yuga, sometimes interactions are like this. Therefore, we should not get carried away by the criticism. We should offer some substantial guidance to that person who actually comes and pours out that criticism to us. Offer them some substantial guidance. So then we have done something proper with it. And then we should be satisfied with it. Okay, now I have done something proper with this. I gave him some direction by which he can act. And then I have told him that what is to be done and what is not to be done. And then we are done with it. We have done our duty. We have acted properly in a proper way. And we should just not keep it at heart. We should forget it. And then we should just go on with life. That's it. That's what we should do. Otherwise, if we try to process it, if we try to find whose fault it is not, and then whether he's right or he's wrong, or whether he's right or he's wrong, and try to process, then only it becomes a problem. It's not our duty to process it. Is that there is somebody who is a service authority. It is his responsibility to process that. So let him process it. And let him decide what is right and what is wrong. So, that's how most of the things should be dealt with. Don't take it to heart. Someone wants to open their heart, then give them your ears because they want to open their heart to you. And then give them something substantial which they can action. And if you've done that, be satisfied with it.
Roji, one question.
Yeah.
Roji, the curses which are in 3 modes, will that affect pure devotees' practice? Because we find in 9th canto, the king Prashruta also got cursed that next lifetime you become a Shudra. But because of his pure devotion, in the same lifetime, he went back to Godhead.
Yeah. In Kali Yuga, curses don't work. There is a Bengali proverb that the vultures are cursing that the cows should die. It's a Bengali proverb. The vultures are always cursing the cows. Hey, cow, you die. Hey, cow, you die, like that. The cow is not going to die because of the curse of the vulture. Because vulture is thinking, if a cow dies, we can get a big carcass. And if we keep that carcass for many days, we can keep eating to our bellies fill. So that's their idea. So therefore, vultures don't like to see cow which is alive. They like to see cow which is dead, because then that can become their food for a long time. So they are always cursing to the cows. Oh, cow, you die. Oh, cow, you die, like that. So therefore, in Kali Yuga, these curses don't work. It's not like, somebody curses and then something happens, because all of us are, most of us are struggling with our own sadhana in Kali Yuga. So, you should not take these things. Even if it works, it's okay. Yeah. But overall, like for example, Daksha's curse works with Narad Muni, but Narad Muni is okay with it. And Parvati's curse works with Chitraketu, and Chitraketu is okay with it. So they did something substantially Krishna conscious with that. So that then that's no longer a curse, that becomes a benediction. Now, for Chitraketu, becoming Vritrasura became a benediction because he is so much glorified as Vritrasura that he more or less becomes the identity of Bhagavatam. So as Chitraketu, he was not known so much. He was not so much glorified as Chitraketu. But as Vritrasura is so much glorified. Okay, please read.
Thus, it is the duty of a mother to chastise her beloved son, even in the case of the Supreme Lord. It is to be understood that Mother Durga was justified in punishing Chitraketu. This punishment was a boon to Chitraketu because after taking birth as the demon Vritrasur, he was promoted directly to Vaikuntha.
Yeah. So that's how it turned out to be a boon. And then at one level, at the external level, Parvati's curse to Chitraketu is justified. Now, Chitraketu is going to speak. And that is going to leave Parvati very astonished. Okay, please read purport. Now there's a gear change in the purport. You will find that there's a distinct change of the analysis of the pastime from this purport onwards. Okay.
Since Chitraketu was a devotee of the Lord, he was not at all disturbed by the curse of Mother Parvati. He knew that he had not committed any offense at the lotus feet of Lord Shiva or the goddess Parvati. Yet he had been punished. And this means that the punishment had been ordained. Thus, the king did not mind it. A devotee always accepts punishment from anyone as the mercy of the Lord. If one lives in this conception of life, he sees whatever reverses occur to be due to his past misdeeds, and therefore he never accuses anyone. On the contrary, he becomes increasingly attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead because of his being purified by his suffering. Suffering, therefore, is also a process of purification. The Lord is very kind and affectionate toward his devotees. And therefore, a devotee in any condition is not subjected to the results of karma. A devotee never aspires for the heavenly planets. The heavenly planets, liberation and hell are not different for a devotee, for he does not discriminate between different positions in the material world. This ambition becomes increasingly fervent in his heart, and therefore he does not care about material changes in his life. A devotee is always eager to return home back to Godhead and remain there as a Lord's associate. This ambition becomes increasingly fervent in his heart, and therefore he does not care about material changes in his life. Lord wanted Chitraketu to return to Godhead as soon as possible, and therefore he terminated all the reactions of his past deeds. Acting through the heart of Parvati, the Lord, who is situated in everyone's heart, cursed Chitraketu in order to end all his material reactions. Thus, Chitraketu became Vritrasur in his next life and returned home back to Godhead.
So it's very clear that Chitraketu did not mind the curse. And it's also very clear that Chitraketu did not blame Parvati for that curse, even though that curse was wrongly given, because Chitraketu immediately understood that Parvati is a great personality, Lord Shiva is a great personality. I said something to Lord Shiva was smiling, and all the sages assembled there, they're also great personalities, they were also smiling. And Parvati suddenly got angry and then she's cursing me. That means this should be Krishna's plan. So normally Parvati should not behave like this. So she's behaving like this, so it should be Krishna's plan. So that means there's no fault in Parvati also. I should accept it as Krishna's plan. So he simply accepted the whole situation as Krishna's plan. And then he accepted that curse also, because for him, it's not a curse, it's not a punishment. Like to become from Vidyadhara's king to a demon is not a punishment for him. Just like Bharat Maharaj becoming Jadabharata cannot be called as a punishment for him, because as Jadabharata, he was quite indifferent to this world and he was just doing his devotional service internally. So he was very blissful. So it cannot be called as a punishment for him. So same way for Chitraketu also, it is not a punishment. But Parvati gave it as a punishment because from her point of view, she thought it is a punishment. But she is not aware, or she is not fully cognizant of the exalted nature of Vritrasura or Chitraketu, sorry. So therefore, she thought that she is punishing him, but actually it turned out that it is not a punishment. And it didn't even act like a punishment for Vritrasura. Rather, it acted for Vritrasura like a boon. That's what Prabhupada mentions, that is actually a boon, it was not a punishment. So therefore, the king did not blame Parvati. And the same thing you find with Dharma as the bull in the first canto. When Parikshit asked bull, Dharma in the form of the bull, that who is the perpetrator of such a crime who did this on you? Can you please identify that person? Then Dharma simply spoke philosophy and kept quiet. Dharma did not say that, oh, Kali is the person. No, this is the person. He is the one who actually cut off my legs. He is the one who is giving me pain. He is the one who is torturing me. Even though Kali was caught red-handed doing it, Dharma refrained from identifying Kali as the person who caused him trouble. He just spoke philosophy. He said that some people say karma is cause, some people say it cannot be ascertained. Some people say that this is Supreme Lord is the cause. Some people say that, so many philosophies he spoke. And then he just kept quiet. He said, oh, now you decide for yourself, O king, who is the cause of my misery. Then immediately Parikshit said, you should be Dharma personified because you only can speak like this. You understand the secret that the person who identifies the perpetrator, he gets the same punishment as the perpetrator. You know the secret. So therefore, you have refused to identify who is the perpetrator of your misery. So same thing we see with Chitraketu. He refuses to identify Parvati as the cause of his suffering. Because he fully understands that if I identify Parvati as the cause of my suffering, then I have to become responsible for that. And then I have to again come back and suffer. So therefore he said, okay, it's what Krishna wants, it's okay. You cursed, it's okay. So Parvati or anybody who curses, they are always used to one situation. What is that situation? The person who gets cursed, he becomes very morose, he becomes very repentant, he comes and falls at the feet of the person who cursed him and he says, please give me remedy from this curse, please save me from this curse. And then that person says, okay, after this curse will be remedied. So Parvati was also thinking that Chitraketu will come, he will fall at her feet and then he'll say, oh, my dear mother, please, save me from this curse. Don't make me a demand. Sorry. But Chitraketu comes and tells Parvati, see, you don't worry. These things happen. Now Parvati is confused. Who cursed whom? Did Chitraketu curse me or did I curse Chitraketu? This guy is coming and telling me, you don't worry. Arey, I cursed you, man. Why are you telling me you don't worry? Because Chitraketu knows that she is going to get worried. By the time he finishes speaking to her, Chitraketu knows that she is going to get worried. Oh, why did I curse Chitraketu? I should not have cursed Chitraketu. It's not his fault. He knows that she's going to get worried. So therefore, you see how Chitraketu thinks as a Vaishnava. He doesn't want Parvati to be under distress, thinking that I did a mistake, I cursed Chitraketu, I should not have cursed Chitraketu. So therefore, the first thing he tells Parvati is that, see, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. So you should not be worried about this. So this is how he thinks. This is how Chitraketu thinks. This is how a pure devotee thinks. This is called Paradukha Dukhi. That he is facing a situation which is a very horrible situation from material perspective. And he is worried about the misery of the person who actually put him in that situation. And he is trying to pacify her that, see, it's not your fault. Don't worry. These things happen. This is called Paradukha Dukhi. And this makes Chitraketu or Vritrasura as an exalted personality. He displays the same quality while dealing with Indra. The same quality which he displayed with Parvati, exactly the same quality he displays when he speaks with Indra. You will find that Chitraketu's consciousness as Vritrasura is same. He deals with Parvati with the same consciousness. He deals with Indra with the same consciousness. And he's worried about Indra. Hey, why you're losing fight, man? You're not supposed to lose faith. You're dealing with the Supreme Lord. You take up the weapon, you fight. You see, I am fighting. You also should fight. You should do it. So that's the lesson for us, that how in the face of reverses still think of welfare of others, and even the welfare of the same person who could be externally seen as the cause of your own reverses. That's the lesson for us from Chitraketu's wonderful dealing with Parvati. How a Vaishnava deals while facing reverses, especially with a person who can be seen as the cause of that reverse. So that's a very important lesson for us to carry, for us to meditate upon, for us to think that how we ourselves can apply this. In the course of performing service, I often get carried away the modes and get the desired result. I lose the quality of being sensitive to others. How to develop this quality of Chitraketu Maharaj towards Parvati or Indra? Okay, we will take this question tomorrow because our time is already up. I'll copy this question and keep it. And then tomorrow when we start, we'll deal with this question. Okay, good. Thank you. We should stop here. And then we'll continue tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande, Hare Hare Bol. Thank you very much.